Andaran Atishan Falon, welcome to another Veilguard video. Now, the BioWare Discord have done another Q&A. If you want to see the first Q&A, which we reviewed, then I will link it at the end of the video. But this is the second one that has come out, and I would like to review it with you again. Now, straight from the off, let's just say what needs to be said. There may be spoilers ahead. But while there's moonlighting music and love and romance, let's face the music and dance. So if you're avoiding all spoilers whatsoever, I don't know what they're going to reveal in this. This is my first time hearing it, so I cannot guarantee that there aren't spoilers in here. But I assume there will be some kind of reveals. So if you're like avoiding everything to do with Veilguard, then hop out of this video, come back after you've played the game, and I'll see you then, or I'll see you in the next video. But if you are not fussed about spoilers or about reveals, then let's get into it. I have my Twitch chat with me today, and we're going to be talking about our thoughts and feelings about everything that we hear. I'm basically just going to let the Discord Q&A play, and I'll pause it in between when I have something to add or something to say or something to discuss. Now, I want to give a huge shout out to, let me just bring up, yeah, you can't see it. It's fine. There she is there. So this is Gil Durthalen's video that she posted on YouTube, and a huge shout out to Katie. I have full permission to use this video as reference for this review. So a massive thank you, shout out to Gil Durthalen. I will link her video in the description box down below. Please go and check her out, give her a follow. And if you want to watch the Discord Q&A without any interruptions, unbroken with my shit commentary over the top, then go and check out her video. She has also posted a spoiler-free version, so if you want to avoid the spoilers but still listen to the Q&A, she has that for you, I'm sure. So, without much more further ado, let's talk Dragon Age! Alright, so like I said, I'm just going to press play, and let's see what they have to say. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, I love the hold music. Sounds like something from Mario or Sonic or something.
Good to see you again.
Here in a sec, just waiting for them to get on.
All right, how's the volume?
Hey John, hey Corinne. Thanks for joining today.
Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure.
It's so good to see so many people. I see some familiar names here. Good to see you again.
Say hello, Bianca.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I'm excited to bring us the second
Green
Q&A
heart,
on the
heart,
Discord
green
server.
heart, green heart.
Last time we were really
Hello, Tony.
happy with the way it turned out and how everyone seemed to really enjoy it. So we're back again. Thank you for submitting your questions on the Ask BioWare channel. I am going to start and kick that off in just a second. But for those of you who might be new here, I'm the community manager, and I'm going to let Corinne and John introduce themselves as well.
Hey y'all, I'm Corinne Bush, game director on Dragon Age the Veilguard. I just generally help people on the team do cool things and create this world.
Can you guys hear it okay? Is it too loud? Is it too quiet? Do you need any volume adjustments at all? Let me know.
And I'm John Epler, the creative director on Dragon Age the Veilguard, and Bryn picked probably the best way to describe what I do too, so I'm just going to steal that. There to make sure the team is enabled to do their best work, and I'm super excited to share all this with you.
Awesome. Yeah, before we start, I also want to give a quick heads up. You might have seen it in announcements, but there are a couple of questions in here that we have answers to that we would consider minor spoilers.
Confirmed.
I'll give a heads up before that minor spoiler answer is given, or even the question is read.
Good.
So you can go, grab some water, or, go outside for a second, or just do anything to decide if you want to listen to the answer or not. But
that's actually very fair, and I really appreciate that they're doing that. That's very considerate. So fantastic. They're going to give a heads up for the spoiler warnings, for the spoiler content before they just drop the question. So even if you guys are watching this and you want to listen to it, you'll get a warning before the spoilers come out. So you can just mute the stream or something, and I'll wave you back in. So that's fantastic. Very much appreciated.
I promise these spoilers are, we'll call them out before we say anything.
That is kind of the coolest part of this session. We're getting closer to launch now, so I think we can go a little bit deeper on some of the questions this time.
Yes, no, this is so exciting. Okay, are you guys ready?
Yes, I am.
Let's do it.
Let's start with a fun one. Do all Evanurus hate tea? Does Gillyflower exclusively drink haunted bog water?
All right, that is a fun one. It's funny because I think Solas is the only one of the elven gods that actually really has a tremendous aversion to tea. That said, we don't really get too into what they drink. I would say, though, knowing what I know about Algernon and Gillinane, I think Algernon probably drinks a combination of gas station coffee and the Thetis equivalent of an energy drink at all times. He's got a big thermos with him.
Because he's a Chad, and I fucking love him.
Whereas Gillinane is all about the herbal concoctions that are supposed to be really good for your gut health, things like that. She really takes care of herself. So
he's just some guy. He drives a pickup. He wears a baseball cap and a flannel, and he just shows up at a gas station, fills up his pickup truck, drinks gas station coffee, and then drives off with an energy drink with a literal monster. So relatable. And then Gillinane with the herbal teas. Yes, he's just some guy with a coffee. He's me. I hate it. How dare. It's really annoying because the more that I learn about Elgernan as a person and not just as a myth, the more I start to fucking like him. I don't want to like Elgar Chad. I don't want to like him. But I'm this close. I am this close to making a full recap video of who Elgernan was and where I think he's going. Spoiler free, like all speculation and just stuff that's already in the game, in the previous games, like his legend and how he was created and who he is to the Elven Pantheon. I'm like this close just because I have this weird obsession with Elgernan that I kind of need to vent.
John, I think you just described you and then me.
Hurtful, Corinne. Accurate but hurtful.
Okay, next one. So we know that we can hug a son, but will we be able to hug any of our companions?
So you can't hug your companions at all times. There's not an option to just walk up and give them a hug. They've got their boundaries, they've got their preferences, but there are opportunities in conversations and dialogue and scenes where you will. A companion may ask you for a hug because they're having a rough time and you are able to give it to them.
And will there be a lot of politicking involved? And by politicking, they mean quests like Wicked Eyes and Wicked Hearts.
Yeah, so I mean,
of course.
There's not going to be a quest quite like the Halam Sharal Ball. I mean, that was very specifically the Inquisitor. The Inquisitor was trying to gain favor with a bunch of different factions. They were trying to form an army. Rook's struggle and Rook's, honestly, challenge is much more immediate and visceral. That said, it's Dragon Age. It wouldn't be Dragon Age with the word politics. You'll have influence on the, things that are happening in the fate of nations are happening around the world. And Rook, I mean, throughout the game, across this adventure, Rook does become a fairly important figure. So it's natural that you'll have some influence and some involvement with the affairs of the different factions and nations.
Yes.
Gotcha. So this next question comes from Onomatopoeia. I know this has been asked before, but they didn't see an answer for it. Is there a way to toggle off nudity and sex scenes?
Ooh.
Yeah, let me take this one. It's so funny, John. You get the fun questions. I get the thirsty nudity questions. I'm here for it. So let me answer and maybe elaborate. So there is a toggle for on and off nudity. That is one of the settings we have, and we'll be going deeper into settings and accessibility and things like that as we get a little bit closer to launch.
Perfect.
But let me also expand on this.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're in Character Creator, you'll actually be able to select what underclothes your Rook wears and whether that exposes your chest or your breast. So by default, nudity is on chest or breast, that is up to you by your underclothing that you select, particularly as you get into, say, romance scenes. But at any point, you can toggle the setting to be non-nudity, and it will overwrite your undergarments.
So, chests are always exposed. Below is not, is what I'm getting from that. You can toggle nudity off by choosing undergarments that cover your chest or reveal your chest. But you will always be covered down there, I think, is what she's saying.
Gotcha. This question comes from Dark Goddess Eris. What are the companions' ages?
Oh, so like, say that you're making a male character. Bottom is always covered. There are 3 options: one without boobs being shown, one with them being shown, and one with everything covered. Yeah. Can we listen to it again? Of course.
You'll actually
That you'll have some influence and some involvement in nations.
And comes from before, but they didn't see an answer.
It's so funny, John. You get the fun questions. I get the
No
thirsty
helicopter
nudity
physics.
questions. I'm here for it. So let me answer and maybe elaborate. So there is a toggle for on and off nudity. That is one of the settings we have, and we'll be going deeper into settings and accessibility and things like that as we get a little bit closer to launch. But let me also expand on this. So when you're in Character Creator, you'll actually be able to select what underclothes your rook wears and whether that exposes your chest or your breast. So by default, nudity is on. Chest or breast, that is up to you by your underclothing that you select, particularly as you get into, say, romance scenes. But at any point, you can toggle the setting to be non-nudity, and it will overwrite your undergarments.
I understand. So, depending on how you make your character, you can choose what their underclothes look like. You've got 3 pieces, like what Kala said. Your bottom half is always covered, so no genitals, no helicoptering in character creation, sad. But your top half dictates the nudity. So if you're playing like a guy, for example, you can choose to either have your like a vest on or something, and underwear, or you can choose to not have a vest on, so your chest is exposed or covered. However, if you turn nudity off, if you chose the chest exposed option, it will overwrite it and give you a vest or something like that. So that's what it sounds like to me. That's what Corin is saying. They didn't rule out bottom nudity, which is interesting. Yes, I don't know. Nothing there was said about bottom nudity. So I'm assuming no bottom nudity then. Not sure why they wouldn't just say that in the first Q&A. Interesting. Well, who knows? I'm not entirely sure. But just based on what I'm hearing right there, that's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like it's more like but that means, hey, if you want to be a kick-ass female warrior and walk around with your chebs out, you fucking can. It is an option. You can just sword and shield people to death with your chaps out. So, I mean, why the fuck not?
Gotcha. This question comes from Dark Goddess Eris. What are the companions' ages? That was a question that actually came up a bunch. So
what are their
I'm
ages?
excited for
Let's
somebody
go.
to be able to answer this one.
Yeah, I can take this one. So the companions in the Veilguard range anywhere from kind of early mid-20s, with Tosh at the youngest,
Tosh
all the
is the
way up
youngest?
to Emmerich, who is in his early 50s. The
Early
rest of the companions
50s?
tend to be in their late 20s, early 30s. Again, though, they're all experts in their field. They're all people who have been through a lot. So even the ones that are at the younger end of the age spectrum, their experience, they've been through a tremendous amount by this point, by the time you meet them. So, yeah, so I mean, I guess Tosh is the closest to Sarah at early 20s, but they're all in kind of that age range. So,
Would you have seen Tash being the youngest? Would you have looked at Tash and been like, that's the youngest? Emmerich in his early 50s, fucking love it, don't mind. Love a silver-haired fox, love me a bit of a bone daddy. Not an issue for me. Ride or die. But yeah, Tash is the youngest. That's cool. That's interesting. And she's like, did they say that Tash is early 20s?
Their field, they're all people who have been through a lot. So even the ones that are at the younger end of the age spectrum, their experience, they've been through a tremendous amount by this point, by the time you meet them. So yeah, so I mean, I guess Tosh is the closest to Sarah at early 20s.
Early
but,
20s.
They're all in kind of that age range, so.
This next question,
Me
I'll
too.
pitch to
Me too. I am so happy to have a dapper, older gentleman. And I love his design. I cannot wait to talk to you guys about Emmerich. I cannot wait, but I cannot right now, so we have to move on.
Corinne. How linear is the quest experience? Are there going to be side quests that you can stumble upon and resolve
I have no idea on Rook's Age. I think it might be up to the player, but I cannot confirm that.
within areas, or are you locked into a golden path?
Let me just pop that back.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess Tosh is the closest to.
Kind of like. This is such a good one.
Oh my god,
Yeah, a
hold
lot
on.
of people.
This next
There we
question, I'll pitch to Corinne. How linear is the quest experience? Are there going to be side quests that you can stumble upon and resolve within areas, or are you locked into a golden path?
This is such a good one. Yeah, a lot of people have been asking about this, so thank you to whoever submitted it. So the content in the game is a mix of directed, kind of like story quest missions, and then explorable content, or you might say optional content. I don't even like calling it side content because it's a lot of fun. It's really good content. So to give you an idea, a lot of the main story quests or critical path missions, if we want to call it that, they're very highly crafted. They're more linear than some of the other parts of the game because we feel that's how we can tell the best stories, give you a very intentionally paced experience, with lulls and climaxes, so it really hits you. But that's only part of it.
I always worry if people have played games before, because every game that has ever been created has a main story and then a bunch of like off-story stuff. Like every game that has ever been created, you have like your main story quest and then you have like little optional things that you pick up along the way. I don't see why that would ever change, why that would ever be different. But again, no hate to the person that's asking this question, but I just wonder sometimes, like, why do people think that this is going to be different? Why do people think that we're going to be playing a game that is just a main story and nothing else? It blows my mind sometimes. But again, no shade to the person that's asking this question. It's a valid question, I guess, but it's just that every game ever made has always been the same kind of format: long linear story, main story, and then stuff that branches off that either contributes to the story or is completely missable, or in this case optional, even though Corin doesn't want to call it optional. But yeah, it's an interesting question.
You're also going to fully explore a bunch of the locations in the Veilguard. So like, let me just lay a few on you. Arlethan Forest, Hosberg Wetlands, those are probably two of the biggest ones.
Cool.
The Crossroads. Now,
Can't
we've
wait.
seen Crossroads before in Trespasser, but this isn't necessarily the Crossroads as you remember it. So you'll be able to explore this this part of the Crossroads. And as you're there, you're absolutely going to be discovering new areas, new quests, mysteries, and new challenges.
What's up, Mutant Defense?
So exploration in the game is absolutely about player agency in these larger, less linear levels. And it's really an important part of the overall experience and core to our design.
I know, Eve.
Now, as a player, and I'm just speaking for me personally, I'm the kind of player that wants to 100% every area. I want to go find all the optional quests, all the treasures. I want to see that big 100% completed on my map. That's going to take you quite a bit of time.
Excellent.
So hopefully that answers the question. It is both.
I think that's a great answer. Thanks, Corinne. This next one is from a user named Benedictus. Will we ever get the Venatori gear?
Yeah, I can take that one as well.
I love the pause when they wait for the other person to talk, like John and Corin. I love that they wait to see if the other person's going to answer it first. Yeah, people were asking questions in the chat the whole time, even though that's not how these work. I know people just don't listen. It's fine. Mutant Defense, did you have something that confused you that you want to talk about, or are you cool? Like, do you want me to go over anything for you? I saw your in chat, and I just wanted to make sure that we didn't move on too quick. I understand being excited, though. I understand being excited too, but I don't know. Read the room. No, it's fine. Perfect. Let's move on.
Venatori gear. So like, I'm assuming what we mean is to like wear on Rook or companions. Gosh, y'all, I'm gonna be honest. We really tried on that one. Hopefully you've seen in the videos our cloth sim, our hair sim. I think it's quite beautiful. The Venatori gear, generally we couldn't make that work to the quality we'd expect within combat. So no, you can't get most of the Venatori gear.
That's okay.
But I will say there is a unique Venatori themed helmet. I don't want to spoil what that is exactly, but so you can get a helmet. It is unique. It's
I love this hat game.
pretty interesting and ties into some of the events that can happen in the game, but I'm just going to leave it there.
Cool.
Gotcha. So now we're getting into our first real minor spoiler question. So,
all right, guys, we have a real minor spoiler coming up. You have been warned. If you're watching this on YouTube, skip ahead past this question to the next question. So here we go. This is it. This is the first one. Let's do it. If you're ready, I'm going to give you a brief second just to hop out or to mute the stream. When this question is over, I will wave, so if your stream is muted, you'll know we're on to the next question. I'll do this, okay? Here we go. Good luck, everybody.
So consider yourself warned. Do whatever you need to do, either listen or don't, for the next, minute. So this question is from Kala. Will there be any romanceable NPCs outside of the companions?
Kala, the Kala. Kayla? Kayla, is this you? Will there be any romanceable NPCs out with of the companions? It's you! Ah, like Kayla! All right, so will there be any romanceable characters, NPCs out with? You know me, Kala. You know me! You know me! You know that I'm an NPC, Stan. You know that I'm a Kirihi needer. You know me! I already know which NPC I'm going to fall in love with. And I don't think they're romanceable. I'm just going to add them to the Kirihi list. There's always an NPC that I fall in love with more than the main characters. I will talk about it when embargo lifts.
I'll take this one. So no, not this time. This time the romances for Rook are strictly within the companions. We wanted to really focus.
Unified hold feeling, 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 unified hold feeling.
Unified hold feeling. Let's get a little bit of Kirihi in here.
Hold the line!
God, I miss him. So no NPCs. But that's okay.
On those relationships and make sure that they were as developed and as deep as we could make them. And yet, honestly, and part of it, the other side of it is, Harding was a great example in DAI. That was a character that, as we were building the game, it
True.
really stuck out to us. This is a character that actually, you see a lot, you build this kind of very specific rapport with, and the writer, Cheryl, wanted to create that light romance with Harding. None of the characters in the Veilguard really jumped out to us in that same way as this is a character we really want to build a relationship with for Rook. But again, really focusing down on making sure the companion romances were as deep and meaningful as we can make them.
So I will be adding another NPC to the NPC romance, non-romanceable list with Kirihi when I play Veilguard. And as soon as embargo lifts, I'll tell you guys about it. We do have fanfic.
And this question is just
All right, so if you guys have your streams muted, or if you're skipping ahead on YouTube, we are now out of that question. We are now safe. I have seen the Harding statue. It is fantastic.
for fun. So we're past a spoiler. We'll get back into other spoilers in a bit. But this one's just for fun. We have so many cute, silly bird videos on the internet. Lucanus's ninth dagger, by the way, says that birds are their favorite animal.
Aw.
If you could just snap your fingers and a bird Easter egg would be added for Asan, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. So actually, I'm going to cheat because I'm trying to think of bird memes, or bird videos specifically, and I'm having a hard time. But the thing about griffins is they're half bird and also half lion. So I'm going to go with the cat meme. Say my favorite meme, and this is one that still brings me joy years after it came out, is the video of the cat grooving to the guy playing Finnish polka on the drum. Again, years old. That's one of my favorite videos on the internet. So, if we're going to give Asan any kind of Easter egg, it'd be that one.
Don't judge me on this. You're putting me on the spot.
We need someone. We need a genius on the internet. Genius, if you're watching this video right now, we need you to make an Asan version of that meme so that we can use it. You know, the one with the cats doing that. We need the Asan version. Make it so, internet. Go out there and do what needs to be done.
Here, but the only thing I can picture in my head, y'all remember that video a few years back where the kid unleashes the rabbit into the field and then immediately that hawk comes down and snatches it up?
Yes.
Don't judge me, y'all. Don't judge me. But that's where my head goes. The song's just getting a little treat.
Asan's the hawk.
That's a great answer, Corinne. Fantastic.
So this next one is from a user named Ash. So Tosh breathes fire, Lucanus has wings, Harding is a dwarf who has magic. A lot of our companions have some strange abilities. Is this because the veil is compromised?
Of course.
Oh, I'd say partially, yeah. We've talked before about how over the course of the time since Dragon Age Inquisition, it started at the end of Trespasser. The veil's not in great shape. Corypheus already did a number on it. And Solas has very clearly, as you saw in the comic preview, not been making things better in the intervening time. So there is to some degree, I'll use Balara as an example. Balara is someone who's seeing these artifacts turn on and being able to interface with them because there's all this magic that's coming back to the world through the Torn Veil. Other characters, though, you are recruiting people to stop the end of the world. You're recruiting extraordinary people. They're going to have extraordinary abilities. And, someone like Davrin, a lot of his abilities are focused around Asan and the fact that he's got this partnership, this almost, familial bond with Asan as Griffin. So,
Can we get some Asans in the chat?
I think I'm seeing a lot of Asans in the chat. So I think we're well covered there.
Asan party.
All right, this next one is for both of you, and
Solas, I have taken precautions. Have you, Solas? Have you? Aye. What precautions, Solas? You had me wander around Thedas and switch on all these weird fade lamps. That's what you did. Those were your precautions, Solas. Do you know what precautions we could have taken, Solas? We could have been happily, just shagging in the fade with those kind of precautions, Solas. Happily distracting you from your duty to tear down the veil. Look, all I'm saying is that we could have saved the world by getting the man laid. Just saying. He could have gone to therapy. He could have sat down and actually worked through his fucking... I was trying to. Have you told anyone about your precautions, Solas? We were all trying. Distract him by getting him pregnant. Yes, we were all trying. We were all trying our best to save the world by getting the man laid. Damn it. Damn it all. Typical solutions for me. Can't help it. I'm sorry.
I will say another quick little minor spoiler warning, depending on the way that either of you might want to answer this question.
Okay, potential spoiler coming in. So again, mute your stream. I'll do the waving again. And if you're watching on YouTube, skip ahead until I'm waving a second time. So quick spoiler warning. Here we go. Again, strap in, get ready, strap on, depending on who you are. Let's go.
This is, of all the companions, who is the team's favorite and what companion was the most difficult to design?
Oh, I don't know if that's a spoiler.
I'm gonna cheat. I know I wrote Balara, so I'm definitely not gonna say the companion I wrote because that would be weird. But I will say I love the companion interaction, so I'm gonna go with two of my favorite relationships that Balara has within the team, friendships that she has within the team. So Balara and Lucanus start off as two characters who feel like they're from completely different worlds. Their experience growing up was very different, where they live, what they do. And over the course of the game, they kind of build this friendship over all these things that, despite, again, very different upbringings, they have a lot of things in common. They're both the, characters who just believe family is deeply important, and that shows up in a lot of their interactions, a lot of the way they talk to each other, they interact with each other, both within the Lighthouse but also out in the field. The other one, and this was one that came up organically as we were building the game, is Nev and Balara. And they, Balara is a character who, despite being out in Arlethan, is very big on stories, very big on, gets all the newspapers from Tevinter, and she's kind of learned who Nev is through that, and they build this very sisterly relationship that I love. And that over the course of the game, I mean, we started out without this kind of as the intention. We started finding all these places that this can show up, and it turned into, again, one of my favorite friendships that exist between the companions. So
I love that our crow boy is out here making friends. I love him so much. I love the idea that Balara is like Nev's biggest fan.
Oh, that was such a good answer. Yeah, I think I might cheat as well, John, because first of all, I don't want to speak on behalf of the entire team. So I'm going to give you my two faves, if that's all right. And I feel like you already know me on this. Every time we have a chance to talk about Tosh and Emmerich, I'm right there for it. I'd say they're probably my two favorites. But here's the thing, y'all. Here's why I love them so much. When you're out in the field, like exploring or on missions with them, their banter is so good because they do not see eye to eye on necromancy, like at all. And it's really funny. It's really delightful. I love seeing how it evolves in time. So, like, look, if you wanted a recommendation from me on like banter in the field, you've got to hear Tosh and Emmerich. Most difficult to design. Let's touch on that really quickly. So I'm going to answer, but I don't want to say that like we put more effort into one versus another. But I would say the most challenging was probably Harding.
Ooh.
Just because you've probably seen, if you saw some of the teaser footage, the pre-release trailer, we have teased some strange new powers for Harding. And when we do that, we have to figure out how that layers into her combat kit.
Yes.
And when we onboard that. And yeah, it was an interesting challenge. It was a really fun one.
Love that.
Backing away from spoilers for a quick second.
Okay, so if your stream is muted, we are free of spoilers. And if you're watching on YouTube, welcome back to spoiler-free territory. Let's go. Beep.
I'm going to ask this question to Corinne. With only 2 companions per party, as a Nightmare Mode player, how can we balance not having a warrior in the team to tank? Will higher difficulty players be forced to bring Davrin or Tosh for a melee instead of bringing the characters that we want?
No.
Oh, super good. I was hoping this would come up, especially after we
Say
released
no.
the combat deep dive for warrior trailer.
I need them to say no, because I'm going to play a mage. And my 2 favorite characters are another mage and a rogue, so I need them to say no.
Hopefully y'all enjoyed that. So let me start by telling you what's happening under the hood.
Exactly, Serena.
First of all, I'm not going to bury the lead. You're not going to have to bring a tank if you don't want to. But
Like they had you in mind. Yeah, they know I play Nightmare mode and they know that I play exclusively mages.
let me first tell you what's happening under the hood. This is going to be kind of high level. Maybe we can go a little bit deeper when we have more time.
Okay.
Behind the scenes, when you walk into an enemy encounter, we generally know how much pressure or you could say intensity or aggression we want to be putting on Rook to maintain that satisfying moment-to-moment experience.
Mm-hmm.
So to give you an idea of some of the levers we have for each encounter, that is the number of enemies that could be specifically focused on you versus your companions, how many enemies can be attacking at once.
Mm-hmm.
And even when you have multiple enemies coming at Rook, we have a ticketing system. And what that means is each enemy basically knows when it is allowed to attack or not.
Oh.
So I tell you all that because basically when we're looking at the different types of classes and team compositions, those levers exist underneath the hood so that we give you the most autonomy and flexibility, but also maintain that pressure, that engagement for you, the player.
Okay. So basically they're saying that they've programmed the enemies to only attack you at specific times. So even if you are playing at a higher level with squishier characters, they'll apply enough pressure to make you feel like the difficulty is high enough, but it won't be so overwhelming that you'll feel like the game is impossible, is what I think they're saying. It will scale to what you're playing. But I'm not sure how that works. So don't quote me on that. That's just a guess from what I've heard Corin say. But it seems like it's going to be a challenge, but not impossible. So challenge accepted. Will I be playing Veilguard on Nightmare straight away? No, I never do that with new games. Whenever I play a new game, I play it on like a lower difficulty level so that I can enjoy the story. I do it with every new game that I play, and then as I get used to the game, I will up the difficulty level to a difficulty level that I'm more comfortable with. Now, if you guys don't play on higher difficulty levels, that's also okay. We all play games differently and we all have different wants and needs for the outcome of the game and the difficulty levels that we play. You'll never get any shit off of me if you play on lower difficulty modes. It doesn't matter to me. It just so happens that I play most of my Dragon, if not all of my Dragon Age games, on higher difficulty levels, with the exception of fucking Origins. But one day I will play Origins on Nightmare and you will watch me cry. You will sit there and you will watch me cry. But I will do it. One day. But it seems like it's going to be a fun thing to adapt to. I think it's all about adaptability. The thing that they've already said about building your team in Dragon Age Veilguard is that there are teams that are designed to be better for certain situations because they create what they call synergies, combos essentially, that complement the battles that you're going into better than, say, other characters that you take. But they've also said that it shouldn't stop you from taking your favourite characters around if you want to. So I guess we're just going to have to wait until we have the game to see how well implemented into the game that actually is. But I'm happy to give it a go. I'm looking forward to... I love a challenge. I love adapting to new assets and parameters, and I'm looking forward to it, and I hope other people are too.
So a couple of other things on that. Now that you kind of get a sense of like what's happening under the hood, it is absolutely beneficial, but not required, to have one of each class in your party.
Oh, okay.
We did go into this with the goal of giving players more flexibility than perhaps we've seen in past entries. It's just a different approach. What we know is that players tend to get very attached to certain characters.
It's true.
if you've got your favorites, you oftentimes want to bring them with you. Or if you're romancing a character, sometimes it's a feel bad to feel like you have to leave them behind because maybe they're the same class as you.
And I never leave my romance behind. I always bring my romance with me. So the problem with that, though, and I'll wait to see what Corin has to say because she hasn't finished yet. But the problem with that is that if it's advised that you bring one of each class, then you're always going to be leaving out the class that you are. So like I'm going to be playing a mage, but if I bring Emmerich, that means I've got 2 mages. So there's got to be like a little bit of a balance in there. Hey Vulcan Twist, how are you?
So the whole game is built and balanced around flexibility and giving you the agency.
Good.
So you can be successful, you can mix it up,
Good.
but you got to plan for it. So what do I mean by that? If you're not using teamwork, if you're not planning for your party composition, for those synergies, it's definitely not going to end super well, right? Like I've done no tank runs, but it takes some foresight in the strategy here. So I'll give you an example if you don't mind. I think I've been pretty out there that my favorite class and specialization right
Is
now,
rogue.
could change tomorrow, is the Rogue Veil Ranger specialization. And this is very much a ranged archery-based specialization. So
Did you get
I
any
want to keep
shinies,
enemies
Vulcan?
at ranged because I want to get those well-aimed critical hits, right? If those enemies are right up on top of me, I'm not going to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So if I don't have a tank in my party, a couple of the tools that I turn to, and I have done this, in fact, my last playthrough, I did this quite a bit.
Jealous?
I might bring Balara and use her Galvanic Tear, which pulls all the enemies towards like this really cool looking gravity well and gets them off of me.
Mm-hmm.
I might instead use Nev's Time Slow. I might bring Balara and use her Galvanic Tear, which pulls all the enemies towards like this really cool looking gravity well and gets them off of me.
Do I have to play Veil Ranger to be a Rift Mage now? Is that what I'm hearing?
I might instead use Nev's Time Slow. So the cool thing about this is it slows time for everything in the world except for you and your team, right? So I'm running away, I'm doing a heavy draw, getting those headshots, or making other tactical decisions.
Oh wait, no, Balara's a mage, not a rogue. What spec is she? What spec is Balara? Because I want to be that spec. I want to be as close to a Rift Mage as possible.
I could also turn to my rune loadout. Hopefully y'all saw runes in the Warrior Combat Deep Dive. That's an important part, especially if you're playing on Nightmare mode. The strategic and tactical options that gives you will allow you to overcome things like not having a tank. I think everyone may have saw the rune where you're doing basically an AoE freeze and freezing everything in place. So it's kind of a long-winded answer. I'm sorry, it's complicated, but point is,
Hi, Cypher.
I think you're going to have more flexibility in your build crafting and your synergies, but it's going to depend on the strategy and composition that you feel works best for you and your own preferences. And then you did mention Nightmare. Let me just finish with saying, and this is anecdotal, but in our own Nightmare playthroughs, we actually find that the most challenging aspect to plan around isn't necessarily aggro management, but making sure you have coverage on all the various elemental damage types. So I just say this for anyone planning to go into Nightmare, plan well.
I shall. I figured you would go Necromancer for your first playthrough. I'm torn between Necromancer and Spellblade because I want to try Spellblade out and it really fits for the rook that I'm doing. But I'm pretty sure we saw the skill tree and it seems like you can branch off into like a couple of directions. I'm not sure how the skill tree works exactly, but I might try one and then try the other and then see which one I like best and then just stick with that one. Whoops. So I might try Spellblade and then try Necromancer and see which one I like better, and then just stick with it. Do I want magic, stabby, stabby, or do I want Skelly Boys? It's a toss up, honestly. It looks really, really fun, but we're just gonna have to wait and see.
Topic of combat. It was noticed during the high level combat videos that weapons and armor seem to be tied to different factions. Are there bonuses or something similar involved if Rook is a Grey Warden while using Grey Warden equipment? Are these removed if a Shadow Dragon Rook is using Grey Warden equipment?
Good question.
Oh, interesting. You know, everyone went deep on that gameplay video. Hey, I'm glad you noticed that. Yeah, so to answer this, you're going to be working really closely with the factions in the game, right? Like the threat you're up against is a world-ending threat, so you're going to interact with each of these factions. So that means you're going to get a lot of the gear that faction tends to use.
Mm-hmm.
And especially the stronger you help them become, the more gear you'll have available from that faction.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see a piece of gear that has like the Veil Jumper icon on it, that signifies that it is aligned with that faction. But you can use it regardless of if that is your faction backstory or not.
Okay.
All it means is that, you know, if I want to maybe improve it or get more gear in that vein or that looks similar, I can see it's from the Veil Jumpers. I'm going to go back to the Veil Jumper Quartermaster, and that's where I will find more items of that type or upgrade possibilities. But it also leans into the thematic identity. So, you know, I think in that video we were using the Transmog system, but if I'm using a Veil Jumper gear, like an armor, it's going to look like it was crafted by the Veil Jumpers, and it's going to lean into the mechanical themes of the Veil Jumpers as well, which just one of those themes tends to be lightning damage. Now, I will also say, and this is a little specific, but occasionally you will find gear or even like skill nodes that will occasionally be empowered. They'll get stronger relative to your strength with that given faction. So like if you find a piece of gear that's really core to your build and it strengthens the stronger the Veil Jumpers are, like that gives you a pretty good signifier that maybe that's a faction you want to focus on.
So your armor gets stronger if you're wearing armor from the Veil Jumpers, your armor gets stronger the stronger you make the Veil Jumpers. It's kind of like an incentive to get out there and get in good with the different factions. That's kind of cool. That's something to keep in mind though when you're playing through the game and you're thinking like, why isn't my gear like developing or evolving or leveling up? It's probably because you haven't gone and talked to that faction yet. So that's kind of a cool incentive. That's interesting. Silence. Did I mute it? No. I think Corin muted her mic. Look. Bless. Okay, hold on.
We may have lost Katie, y'all.
Excellent.
We can start just,
Yeah. Why don't I do have the list of questions here, so why don't I ask the next one until Katie comes back? I hope everything's okay on your side, Katie.
Bless.
All right. Next question I see. The evoker description on the blog post highlights ice-based magic. Does that mean we will not be able to have lightning and fire-themed playstyles as the evoker?
I'm going to put my hand up right now. Evoker means someone who knows evocation. And evocation is elemental magic. So, I'd be very surprised if it was exclusively one element and not all the elements. But let's see what Corin says.
No, absolutely not. The evoker can lean into all of the elements.
Because that's evocation!
In fact, all mages can to a degree. you probably have seen the skill trees. You're gonna pick up.
Have you guys never played an evocation wizard in D&D? It's my favorite class. My favorite class of wizard to play in D&D is evocation. An evoker is just someone that does evocation magic, which is what evoker means. It means elemental magic. So let's go.
Abilities, perks, traits of all elemental types, and
Evocation
powering
is the
up
best.
those elements.
Closely
So
followed
just
by
because you're an
necromancy.
evoker doesn't mean you're like pigeonholed into ice spells.
Fireball.
What I will say is if you're
Okay,
heading
Cypher.
towards that specialization, you're going to pass through the section of the skill tree where you're more easily going to be able to naturally pick up those ice spells, right? So it might lean towards ice, but you can expand it.
Yeah.
The name of the game is agency here.
Bryn, why don't I ask you the question so we can still kind of do a Q&A thing?
Yeah,
This is cute.
Great.
I love that they're vamping. I love that they have to vamp. Bless.
Can I set the gear to look however I want without losing stats? And that is a question from Yo Call Me Rob.
Yes, you can, because that's what Transmog is. You can set the appearance of any armor that you're wearing to look like any other armor you're wearing whilst maintaining the base stats of the armor that you are wearing. That's what Transmog is. If you've played World of Warcraft, if you've played Final Fantasy XIV, you know what a glamour system is, you know what transmogging is. But for those of you who don't, it is purely cosmetic. So say you've got the ugliest armor on, but it's got kick-ass stats, but it's ugly as shit. But then you've got this really cute level 1 armor with shit stats, but it looks fantastic. You can transmog the shit armor onto the good armor to make it look good, but maintain the good stats. And that is the magic of Transmog. And thank the maker for it, I agree. Fashion age time, let's go. I am so excited for Transmog. I am so excited for a glamour system in Dragon Age because it's the one thing, apart from hair, that I fucking hated about most of the Dragon Age games. Apart with the slight exception of 2. But the armor in most of the Dragon Age games leaves a lot to be desired. So I'm very excited that we can use a transmog system. We can be cute and powerful. Yes, we can. We can slay, not just in fashion, but on the battlefield. It's going to be so good. Fashion truly is the end game. I'm so ready for it. Let's go.
All right. Well, y'all know fashion's the true end game.
Ah!
So, we did confirm
You've heard this before.
we have a full transmog system. So what I'm going to do is spend some time going a little more in
Slay
depth
and
for y'all,
slay.
so that we're getting new information. So yeah, if anyone's not aware, transmog basically is I have a piece of gear, but I apply a appearance to it that makes it look like something else that I like better, so I can be fabulous.
Fabulous.
So how this is going to work is you're of course going to find gear as you adventure through the world, and you can equip that. But any piece of gear you find is also going to unlock the appearance for that gear. So you might find something that you really like, and you want to look that way, and then you replace it. Anything you've already acquired, you can apply the appearance to whatever
Slay
gear
squared.
you want. Additionally, and this is one of my favorite parts, is you'll also find some appearance-only cosmetics that are specifically used just for transmog. So sometimes these are some of the...
We're going to be the fabulous guard. It's going to be incredible. Slay and slay. Let's go.
the fancier or more niche pieces of gear. Maybe you end up looking like a training dummy, for instance. So you'll get these appearance datas from opening treasure chests, exploring the world, and more frequently from vendors. So look, if you're in it for fashion, check out those vendor inventories because they got you.
I cannot wait to see what mods do with this game. I've already got like 3 requests for mods for this game. But I cannot wait to see what the modders bring into the game. What I'm worried about with modding is that I hope they don't use Frosty. I hope that they bring out like a Veilguard modding system like they did with Inquisition. So like they had like the what was it called? Not Frosty, but the other thing.
Say hello, Bianca.
Thank you very much for 2 months in a row. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Mod Manager. Thank you. How they had Inquisition Mod Manager and Frosty. I hope they have a mod manager for Veilguard, because I cannot get Frosty to work. I do not know what shit magic is in Frosty for people to get it to work. I cannot get it to work. Even the Darkspawn are adding splashes of colour. We shall not be outdone. Exactly. Can they make it so the mod's console compatible this time, please? I don't know if that's a mod. Yeah, I think that's a game developer thing. They have to like make the actual console versions of the game moddable, and I don't know how to do that. It's difficult, I know, and it's a real shame for console players because they miss out on all these really cool mods. I don't know how it would work though. But yeah, I cannot wait to deep dive into the unique eldritch horrors of modding this game, but we shall see.
I would also say that you can transmog your casual wear.
Ooh.
So field wear and casual wear, fully transmogable. If you want to be plate mail while you're hanging around the lighthouse, as a mage, more power to you.
Oh no.
And then if I were just to give you a practical example of this,
Frosty's
like
just
on
a
the
pain,
Blood Dragon
period.
armor, the pre-order bonus, those are cosmetics. Those are just appearance datas, right? So they're effectively evergreen. You can use them anytime you like without compromising your stat.
I will say that I don't think I've spent as much time in any other menu other than Transmog, because
Yes.
as Corinne mentioned at the beginning of this, fashion is the true end game. So, Katie, have we got you back yet?
Am I back? Can you hear me?
Yay!
Katie, we did our best, Katie, but I don't think we were very convincing.
No, I think you both did a great job. It was one of those weird situations where Discord force quit, but I could still hear everything everyone was saying. I don't really know what that was about.
I just assumed you didn't like my answer.
Yeah, I rage quit actually, Corinne,
Take
and
me
it
by
was
the
all your
face.
fault. No, thank you for taking over while I was figuring that out. There's a non-zero chance that happens again, so just keep an eye out.
We'll keep it rolling. Don't worry, we got you.
Thank you.
Excellent teamwork.
So I'll just pick it up from the next question. The latest video, wow, I can't even talk anymore.
Bliss.
The latest video series mentioned how each companion can set up or detonate specific combos. Are those always set in stone, or would we get opportunities to change it up through the skill trees or otherwise?
Cool. I eat up these really specific combat questions. So first, let me give you an overview of how the primer detonator relationship works between the classes. Like, this is very nitty-gritty, y'all. If this is your jam, get your pencils out. So here's the overview.
Okay.
Mages, and this is true of companions and rogue.
I'm listening.
Mages apply weakened and overwhelmed debuffs. And those are two of the debuffs we call primers.
Okay.
Mages detonate the sundered debuff. Then if we go to rogues apply weakened and sundered debuffs,
Okay.
and rogues detonate overwhelmed. Warriors apply sundered and overwhelmed, and warriors detonate weakened. So you can see kind of
Say
the interesting
hello,
rock,
Bianca.
paper, scissors
Thank you.
relationship there. And when I talk about it is beneficial to bring one of each class, it's just the inherent nature of that rock, paper, scissors relationship that I'm really thinking of. But to answer your question, that is just the baseline. Like, that's the default if you don't modify it. Throughout the game, you will find...
I'll break it down for you. It is an awful lot of information to take in. So what Corin said is each class applies 2 different debuffs. Debuffs weaken your enemies. So Mage has 2, Rogue has 2, and Warrior has 2. The debuffs are called primers. So when you apply one to an enemy, when you apply a debuff to an enemy, you are setting a primer. It takes one of the other classes to detonate that primer. So think of it as like a debuff is like a bomb that you're planting. You're planting a bomb on an enemy with a debuff. and you've set the primer, you cannot detonate that primer. Someone from another class has to detonate that primer. So I think, what is it? I think Corin said, I can't remember, but I think Corin said that rogues apply something and weaken. So like they can weaken enemies. They can apply weakness, like it's just called a debuff. You know, like how in other games, if you slash someone, it applies bleeding, so they bleed for like a while. Or if you poison someone, it applies the poison debuff, so they poison for a while. Well, in this game, there's a debuff called weaken, which will weaken your enemy for a while. But it takes a warrior to detonate it. So it's hard to explain without visuals. It's rock, paper, scissors, yeah. I will be able to go over bits and pieces like this when my embargo lifts, because I will be able to show you visual representations of what this means. But for right now, all I can say is what Corin has said, and that it's like it's beneficial for you to bring one of each class into your party, because each class detonates the other class's primer, if that makes sense. It's a little bit complicated. I would prefer to show you guys with visuals, but I can't right now, so just hold that thought, put a pin in that. We'll go over combat when I can talk about it. But don't worry about it. It sounds really overwhelming because it's a lot of information being thrown at you, but I promise that it's not that complicated in actual practice. So don't worry too much about it. Give me a couple of days, give me till next week until my embargo lifts, and I'll give you a breakdown of what the detonators and the primers are with visuals. So just put a pin in it for now. We'll come back to it next week once my embargo lifts.
Find opportunities, whether it's from gear, skill tree nodes, even runes that allow you to break this paradigm. So when it comes to like your companion builds, again, it all comes down to the abilities you choose, what gear you're equipping them with, how you allocate your skill points. Yeah,
My chair is so squeaky.
The question? There's quite a bit of flexibility, but there is a baseline paradigm as well.
Yeah, I think that answers the question. Let's see. The next one is, will we see a bit more of the Lighthouse before release, as well as non-combat gameplay?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll keep it brief here because we are going to be talking more about exploration in the Lighthouse next month. So forgive me, but I'll say stay tuned on that one. I
will review stuff like that when
then
we
this
can.
next one, I believe, is a little bit of a spoiler. I know that some people have...
Okay. We're back in spoiler territory. So if you want to mute the stream, or if you're watching on YouTube, then either mute the stream now and I will wave when we're out of spoiler territory, or if you're on YouTube, skip ahead until I'm waving again and you'll be out of spoiler territory. So, ready? Here we go.
You can't hear me still for some reason. If you can't, tell folks to, quit Discord and rejoin it.
Oh shit.
Okay, minor spoiler, y'all. If you can't hear Davey, this one's a minor spoiler.
Thanks, Corinne. This one is, will we be able to give gifts to our companions, either generic or characters or / plot specific?
Yeah, you sure can.
Gifts are back. Do you guys remember gifts in Dragon Age Origins? I am going to be all over Thedas looking for these gifts. You guys don't understand. You guys don't understand. I will be in every jam jar. I will be up everybody's ass. I will be up every drain pipe looking for companion gifts. There will be no stone uncovered in Thedas. They will get their gifts. I will love them. I will make them gifts if I cannot find them.
I actually want to shout out one of our lovely designers, Dusty. This was a passion project from him. He was advocating for this.
Thanks, Dusty.
So the cool thing about this is it's not like a transactional thing, like where I'm gonna go farm a bunch of like nonsensical items and just like mechanically
Can we be the
turn them
gift?
over. Out in the world, and they're at various locations, so you kind of stumble upon them. You can buy a gift that is very personal to any one of the companions.
Perfect.
And then you turn that in to them, you give it to them, they have a nice acknowledgement. And then the thing that's just like so sweet about it, we've talked about how the companion rooms evolve over time, but if you go and get them one of these like very personalized gifts, they'll display it in their room. Like it doesn't go into some stats void. It's actually on display.
Oh, hell yeah.
I love that.
I love that.
This next question.
All right, we're out of spoiler territory now. If you've got the stream muted, you can come back in. Ah, that's lovely. Okay, next question. Fantastic. Love it so much.
I'll pitch it to John. Some of our companions, like Nev, Emmerich, and Lucanus, have been in past short stories and comics, and there's also a passing resemblance to some of the old concept art from years ago.
Mm-hmm.
What is the process like for making a character at some point and then planning to bring them back as a companion? Or were they always written or designed and intended to be companions?
Oh, that's a good question.
All right, that's a great question, and it's actually one I'm going to go a little deep on. So,
Ooh.
as we build a game, as we start writing companions, we see how they fit in the story, see how they fit together. Some characters have been around, and some character concepts have been around for quite some time. Others come in a little bit later in development as we realize we have a gap, something in the story that we need someone who makes sense to fill that gap, to be that character. But part of it's also just, as the writers, we want to make sure that the people who are writing these companions are passionate and they're writing a character they want to write. We don't want to just say, we need X, Y, and Z, write a companion to fill these gaps. But it'll be, hey, in the story, it really doesn't make sense that we don't have somebody doing X. Is there a character we can build for that? And so, you'll see old concept art, and a lot of those concepts, a lot of those, the core of those characters remains intact. We may have changed details of them. We may have decided, okay, they were going to be X, but now Y makes a little bit more sense. Or as a writer, I'm a little bit more interested in Y, and what this particular concept speaks to me more. In terms of comics, short stories and such, generally speaking, and this isn't universal, but generally speaking, writers are writing these short stories. In particular, it's a volunteer. We ask the team, like, hey, we've got the short story anthology, who wants to write something for it? So writers are going to pick characters that they're passionate about, and in those cases, they tend to be their companions. So, for example, Nev, as mentioned, Nev, Emmerich, Lucanus have all shown up. Those were written by people who were passionate about those characters, and we had already intended for them to be companions. Other characters, though, and Harding is an excellent example. We create a character to fill a role. In the case of Harding, she was an Inquisition, largely to be there to kind of connect those exploration spaces together and give you a sense of the Inquisition's presence. And then we saw the fan reaction. But beyond that, Cheryl really wanted to explore Harding's arc more deeply, so she got promoted to be a companion as well.
Hell yeah!
Yeah, it's an organic process.
Thank you for
Again,
that.
it comes down to, we want to make sure that the people who are building these characters, not just the writers, but also the artists, the cinematic designers, the editors, the gameplay people are excited to build these characters. And actually, I'm going to go a little bit side topic on that. Balar was a great example where we knew what Balar needed to be in the story, but gameplay-wise, it took a bit to kind of land on how her gameplay and her character arc and who she was melded together. Corinne's talked earlier about the companions and how they show up in gameplay. A really big thing for us on this project is making sure that the gameplay reflects the characters, their arc, and their personality as much as possible. Yeah, kind of a long answer to say it depends, but yeah, generally if they show up, especially in something like a short story, we've already intended for them to be a companion because those are the characters that the writers are most passionate about. So.
Love that, though. Love that.
I love that.
Me too.
Apart from wanting to try different classes, what are the main incentives for multiple playthroughs now that stuff seems more overall universal to be attempted all in a single playthrough? Are there choices presented that are impactful, that wildly different outcomes will come from? Wow. Let me start that one again. I think it's just I'm reading it straight off the sheet.
No worries.
I'll start from the top.
The
Apart
answer,
from wanting to try different classes,
the answer,
what are the main
the answer is romance. The answer is multiple romances. That is the answer. The replayability isn't just choosing new classes and choosing different like story options. It's the romance aspect. It's romancing different characters. It's getting to experience different romances. The answer is romances.
incentives for multiple playthroughs now that stuff seems more universal to be attempted all in a single playthrough? Are there choices that are impactful and wildly different in different outcomes and decision paths?
So I mean, there's a few incentives. One of which is, I mean, the most basic is the 3 classes from a gameplay perspective do play differently, and it's funny. Corinne was talking about how her favorite is the Veil Ranger, but that might change. Mine literally changes every time I start a new playthrough. I develop a new favorite class, which is the class I'm currently playing. But more generally, yeah, there are choices in the game. There are different outcomes. There's content that you will see or won't see based on choices you make, both within the critical path of the game, but also with the followers themselves. So, you're not going to see everything in a single playthrough. You're not even going to see everything necessarily in a couple of playthroughs, but you want to see how your choices have different outcomes. That's the best way to do it.
It's the same with Inquisition. It's like choosing between the Templars and the Mages. You're never going to see both sides of them in one playthrough. You have to choose one. So the replayability for Dragon Age has always been to see the different outcomes in the choices that you make, not only with your companions, but in the world. So like 2 playthroughs will get you the Mages and the Templar side of things, but it won't get you every romance. 3 playthroughs might get you some more romances. Like 3 playthroughs might let you choose multiple story outcomes and experience every class, but it won't let you experience every subclass of that class. So you could play 3 times, play a rogue, a warrior, and a mage, and only be able to play 1 subclass from each of those classes. So you have to play them another 3 times because each class has 3 subclasses. And then there's all the romances. There's so much. And then there's all the things that you missed in your first playthrough, like all of the Easter eggs, all of the side quests, all of the side areas, all of the locations that weren't obvious. Like, I'm looking forward to finding things like the tiniest cave in Inquisition. Like, that was so obscure and so difficult to find and so difficult to figure out. But I want to find stuff like that in Veilguard, and it might take 4, 5, it might take 10 playthroughs to find stuff like that. So massive replayability. I hope you guys are ready. As soon as Veilguard is released, I hope you're ready for my content on Twitch to be nothing but Veilguard for like a year. It's just going to be me playing Veilguard for the foreseeable future. Multiple playthroughs, multiple different choices, just me living my best Dragon Age life. I hope you guys are prepared. So excited.
This question is, I understand mages having very magical looking moves, but why do rogues and warriors also have very magical looking moves?
Because
Was
of the...
making every class look like a mage a purposeful choice?
Oh, actually, what was I going to say?
Cool. So it's a multi-part answer, but yes, everything we've done has been with intention towards supporting the overall player experience. So I guess the first place I'd go to answer this is from a game tuning and balance perspective. We knew that supporting multiple damage types like physical, fire, electric, etc., that was going to be an important factor in the strategic depth of the combat system, particularly as it leans into builds and the strategies you use to take on various enemies. It's not the extent of it, but it's an important part of it. So that meant that making sure the various classes in some capacity have access to some or all of these damage types. And that then means that we need to make them read visually as such on the battlefield. So the first part is about making sure you have those strategic options on the battlefield. But there is more to it than that, I'd say. We also found, and I've heard this from a lot of you, that some of our magical hybrid classes have been amongst the favorites. My goodness, the discourse around Knight Enchanter.
Mm-hmm.
So this felt like a very thematic way for us to support that goal, if that makes sense. The goal of game balance, but also leaning into the things that seem to resonate the most.
I know that I'm in the minority, but Knight Enchanter is not one of my favourite mage classes. And I know that I'm in the minority. I know that people love the idea of like battle mages and stuff, and I do to a degree as well. But I think that with the love of Knight Enchanter, because of how much people loved classes like Knight Enchanter, I feel like that has influenced the class designs of Veilguard so much, because you get things like Spellblade, and then you get the little the ruins that you saw in the high level gameplay act as like magical enchantments essentially. So even if you're a sword and shield warrior, you still have an aspect of magic with the enchanted runes on the dagger. So I feel like everybody is going to feel like a little bit of a battle mage, which is fine, but I just wonder if that's where the inspiration and the influence for the class designs came from, was because everybody loved Knight Enchanter. And again, no shit to people who like Knight Enchanter. I know that I'm the minority. I didn't hate it. I'm just a Rift mage, and I will always be a Rift mage or a Force mage. That's just my jam. I love Knight Enchanter because I could light enemies on fire and then hit them. Yep, that seems like Veilguard. The only skill I used from Knight Enchanter is the Spirit Sword. To be honest, it's fun to smack people, and I'm still always playing ranged with it. No, I appreciate everybody likes everything different. But I just see an awful lot of Knight Enchanter in how they talk about the classes and stuff. So I just thought that was interesting to point out.
If I was to just focus on the warriors out there for a minute, though, because we just released the warrior deep dive, we've actually long had a goal within the team of making them more visually interesting and impactful. We know, and I've heard from a bunch of you, that warrior, it tends not to be
it's boring
first choice, but hey, any of the warrior fans out there, big props to you, because I love them too. So this was like our chance, really, to show what a warrior can do, to make them feel like they have a presence on the battlefield that could be as interesting as some of the other classes. But I will say, I absolutely recognize that there are those of you that, like, if you're playing a melee class, you want a pure, like, physical-based warrior aesthetic, maybe something that's a little more grounded. You can generally make a build that's more physical focused if that's more your taste.
Awesome.
In addition to playing the first 3 games, what comic books or novels do you recommend reading before playing the Veilguard?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, generally speaking, one of the things we wanted to make sure with the Veilguard was that players could get into the story, understand what was going on, without needing to, get into the ancillary material. I love the comics, I love the novels, I love the short stories, but they are intended to be kind of side content. One of the things that we hear loud and clear is sometimes folks don't really want that to feel like, I need to have read this, I need to have seen this comic, I need to have watched this show for it to make sense. That said, I'd say the most recent comic series, is a very clear lead up to the beginning of the Veilguard. It's setting up events. It's kind of setting up, Varric and Harding's search for Solas. It sets up some of the characters that you'll see in the game. Tevinter Knights is another one. Not every. We mentioned earlier that some of the companions show up there. Beyond just the companions, there's some thematic stuff that comes out of that as well. Some things that we kind of wanted to set up when we wrote those short stories, as an idea of like giving you an idea of what the world state is, how things have changed over time. And then I'd say, more very recently, yesterday, we have the podcast, Vows of Vengeance, which is intended to give you a taste of the companions and also, again, talk about the world state of Thetis at this point, giving you kind of the lead up to weeks before the events of the Veilguard. So you do have that sense of what's going on, who are these people, and how, when I first meet them in the Veilguard, you kind of have an idea of who they are. Again, though, this is all stuff that I think enhances the experience, but it's not required. There's never going to be, we're never going to put you in a situation where a character shows up and everyone makes a big deal out of it, and you're sitting there wondering like, who is this person because they were introduced in other media. We always want to make sure that you understand that the only thing you need to have done to understand the Veilguard is play the Veilguard. So,
even though they did that with Corypheus, I'm just going to put it out there. Because I hadn't played any of the Dragon Age 2 DLC, so I had no idea who Corypheus was. And then I switch on Inquisition and everyone's talking about how Hawk and Varric killed him. And I'm like, who is this guy? If you guys want any more additional things to read before Veilguard, The Last Flight is really good if you want to learn about the history of the Griffins. The Masked Empire is really good if you want to learn about the Crossroads and how Solas got the Illuvians. The Wake is a short story about Lucanus. It's a really good one to read. I don't think you need to read anything else. Everything else is optional, I think. They said the missing. Everything else I think is optional, but if you wanted a little bit more additional stuff, there was a short story that was released last Dragon Age Day about the crows in Tevinter and the Qunari invading. That one's an interesting read if you want to get up to date on stuff like that. But I think the main ones to read are The Missing, Tevinter Nights, listen to Vows and Vengeance, and maybe The Last Flight if you want to learn about the Griffins, and The Masked Empire if you want to learn about the Illuvians, and The Wake if you want additional stuff on Lucanus. And I think that's it. There are a couple of videos up. Yeah, Gil, who we are using her video. Thank you very much, Katie. Gil has a great video about the options for side things to read. So why don't you go, whilst you're subscribing to Gil Durthalen for this video, why don't you go and check out her video about reading material and stuff to prepare you for Dragon Age the Veilguard, and tell her Eddie says hi.
Awesome. Also, yes, Vows and Vengeance is so good. So definitely, give it a chance. The first episode is out now. I think a lot of people in the Vows and Vengeance Discord server or Discord channel are really stoked on it. This next question, will we...
As of recording of this, the second episode is also out, and it's Scout Hardings. I do have reviews of the first and second episodes on my channel, so if you haven't seen them yet, go check them out.
To be able to adjust how much damage the companions do in the accessibility settings?
Yeah, so our customized difficulty and accessibility
section, will we be able to adjust how much damage the companions do in the accessibility settings?
Interesting.
Yeah, so our customized difficulty and accessibility settings as well, they're more focused on how you, the player, experience the game while in control of Rook. So things like enemy health, timing, things of that nature. So not in the settings, no. But if you really want to be that kind of player that wants to amp up your companions, like have them do a greater share of the overall damage, there's a number of ways to accomplish this. You'll get gear that just strictly says your companions do more damage. And then there's some unique buffs we support, like Rally Party. So you as Rook can trigger this surge in your companion's ability. So again, we know how diverse the motivations are within the player base. So we wanted to make sure those tools were there for y'all.
Oh, cool.
So now we're getting back into some spoiler territory.
Spoiler territory, guys. I'll do the hand waving thing again on YouTube. We're getting into spoiler territory. So mute the stream. I will wave if when we're out of spoiler territory. And if you're watching on YouTube, just skip ahead till I'm waving again. Good luck, everybody. Here we go.
There's minor spoilers, but definitely take heed for the next couple of minutes if you don't want to hear them. Okay, we ready? Will we finally meet Maevaris, Talani, and Tevinter?
Oh my goodness, y'all. All right, you got the spoiler warning. So when I talk about cameos and appearances, don't say I didn't warn you.
Just say yes.
Hey, this one's very near and dear to my
I
heart.
need it to be yes.
As a trans woman myself, I'm pretty open about that. Yeah. Our dear May, she's in the game. Happy to confirm it. And every time I see her, I absolutely freak out.
Oh my god, she's going to be beautiful.
What I'm not going to tell you, though, is what role or capacity she plays.
Kala?
So you're just going to have to wait and see. But Avaris Talani, she's in.
Okay, I'm just putting out there right now. There is no way that Mayvaris is in it and Dorian is not. There is no way that gay besties would ever be not together. There's just no way. I'm calling it now. There's no way. There's no way that Mayvaris would be in it and Dorian would not be in it. There is no way. I'm calling it now. There is no way. Gay besties don't do that to each other. Okay, this is exciting. Hold on. Let me just take a fucking minute. Oh my god. I mean, I knew he was going to be in it. I fucking knew. You can't not have Dorian in it. You're literally licking the arse of his back door. What I meant was you're in Minrathis. What I meant was you're in Minrathis. He's literally like heading the Shadow Dragons. He can't not be in it. You can't tell me that he's not in it. His bestie's in it. Look, all I'm saying is Dorian win. Excellent. Sorry, Corin, please carry on.
I am living for chat right now.
You guys heard
nothing. I
nothing.
try not to look at it too much during these because it'll distract me, but I'm living for chat right now.
That was the biggest Freudian slip ever. And yet, you guys know how much I love Dorian. It's fine. Are we out of spoiler territory yet?
This next one is also...
Yeah, we're out of spoiler territory. If you guys have your stream muted. I'm not here to deny it. I'm not here to pretend to you guys like I didn't mean every word I just said. Also, Kala, you called it right. I'm losing my mind. I'm so excited.
A minor spoiler. Will we find out...
Oh, it's also a minor spoiler. We're also in a minor spoiler. Mute your stream again, guys. Mute your stream. I will wave you back in. They've gone from one minor spoiler into another one. Hold on. All right, mute your stream. I'll wave you back in.
This next one is also a minor spoiler. Will we find out what happened to Lucanus's parents for his grandmother to have had charge of him?
Oh.
Yeah, so I mean, Lucanus is an Antivan Crow. If you know anything about the Antivan Crows, you know that
I sure do.
They are, well, assassins. And assassins tend to have fairly deadly politics, and the daggers are a lot more literal than you would see somewhere like Orlais, so... That's all I'm going to say. You'll find out at some point, for sure.
We're doing a great job at not giving too much away. Do we get any jealousy dialogues?
Safe to come back in. You are now safe. You are now out of spoiler territory. Let's go.
From any of the companions, if you switch up your romance plans partway through, are any of the romances hard locked at any point?
Jealousy.
Yeah, so you can, I mean, there is an opportunity or there's a place in a romance where you essentially commit to it being exclusive. And we really wanted to make sure that, we were very upfront about the fact that you are committing to an exclusive romance at that point.
Excellent.
And before that, it is portrayed as you're flirting, you're kind of, figuring out each other. So there's no jealousy dialogues, but there are places where you commit. And we want it to be very clear to fans. There's also going to be a place, because I think I'm reading this right, where there's a point in the story where if you haven't committed, if you haven't said like, yeah, let's I'm up for this, let's do this, where you no longer have that opportunity, we're very clear about what that point is, because again, we don't want people to be missing out on a romance and think like, I've got some time, I really want a romance now, but I've got a little while, and then find out that no, in fact, you don't have any more time. So
Oh, good.
Are class specializations locked to a particular faction, or can Rook only learn a specialization from a particular faction, like through a faction trainer?
Oh, excellent question.
So the specializations are a lot more thematically tied to the factions than they are as strict. You must be X faction. You must get it from this person. For example, I'll use the Veil Ranger. The Veil Ranger is all themed, as Corinne said earlier, around electricity, around the use of the Veil, around the use of that kind of magic. So while they are thematically tied, there is no you must be a crow to be a Spellblade, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that's because while we do like having that connection between gameplay and roleplay, we also don't want you to feel like, well, I really wanted to be Spellblade, but I also really want to be a Grey Warden. We don't want those two things. Sometimes we want gameplay to influence narrative, but we never want you to feel restricted by one against the other, if that makes sense.
Good.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, Katie, can I go off script really
Of course.
quickly? All right. So I saw someone post in chat. Okay, Polly next time though. Let me just say, I cannot make promises. I cannot. But I'm with you. I'm with you.
I love it. Anytime you want to address anything that's happening in chat, of course.
Quickly. All right. So I saw someone post in chat. Okay, Polly next time though. Let me just say, I cannot make promises. I cannot. But I'm with you. I'm with you.
Corin's for
I
Polly.
love
Let's
it.
go.
Anytime you want to address anything that's happening in chat, by all means.
Oh shit!
Corin will fight for it.
I mean, don't go too crazy. This next question is from K Sarah Sarah.
Excellent name.
Will we be able to change the font size in the UI, subtitles, etc.?
Oh,
I can take that one. So quick reminder, we are going to do a deeper dive as we get closer to launch on accessibility settings, but let me just answer this one. Yeah, you absolutely
perfect.
can. There are limits, of course, but as a fellow person who often has to squint, I'm 42, y'all. My eyes are starting to go. I can play comfortably. I suspect most players will be able to play comfortably.
That's really helpful for me as a streamer because I usually have my subtitles on, not explicitly for me, but for you guys. So it'll be really nice to be able to adjust the text for subtitles that's more accessible for you guys, but also more accommodating for my stream, depending on what resolution you're watching the stream on. So that's really cool. I appreciate that.
Will there be a way to save characters so we save characters we make so we don't have to start from scratch each time?
Oh,
Heck yeah, you
Fuck
absolutely can.
yes.
I mean, look, all of you playing Inquisition, you're still sharing your OC and your characters 10 years on. We know how much you love it. So yeah, absolutely. I do want to have some caveats here, though. So it's when you're in the character creator, you can import a character appearance. It's just going to be the appearance data from an existing save of yours.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say an existing save, just let me put a very fine point on it. That save has to be local to the machine.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, we're an offline game. There's no online character sharing built in.
Mm-hmm.
But for those of you that like your OC are very near and dear to your heart, and every time you replay, you like to have the same like character, and you've spent hours and hours and hours working on it. Yeah, you can import that.
I love that. And let me tell you why. Because I have 2 Inquisitors. What my Solas Mancer, I have played her like 3 or 4 times, and every single time I start a new game with her, I have to go into a previous save, and go into the Black Emporium, open the character creator on the mirror, and record all of the places where everything is, like where are the sliders for like our face shape, for like our nose shape, for like our hair color. Like I have to like go in and get all of that and re-sculpt her face every single time I play her. Whereas because of this, I only have to sculpt her once. And then next time I want to play her, I'll just like import her again. My canon rook is a character that I play. Hello, Dem. My canon rook is a character that I play in D&D, and someone that I love very, very much. And I will be playing him multiple times to do multiple romances with him. So the fact that I don't have to like remember how I built him and just like import him, like I only have to build him once and then just kind of like import him again, that's fantastic. That speaks to me. Fantastic. I love it. Couldn't have asked for more.
We saw how many of you were saving screenshots of sliders in DAI, and
It was me.
that was not a great experience, as we're well aware. So,
This next one is our companion quests going to focus on internal factors
this is my
or
natural
external
voice.
personal events? Like, will it be a growth in character and self-discovery, or are they firmly rooted in their sense of self and will ask for / need help with their factions, interpersonal relationships, etc.?
so that's another great question. It's a mix of both. I mean, each companion has their own personal arc over the course of the game. You know, you go on missions with them, you solve problems with them, and the nature of those problems, you know, the problems are oftentimes
They did have it in Andromeda, but I need it in Dragon Age.
very external in nature. You know, something's happening that they need help with, but most of the time those problems are also tied to their own personal growth as a character. Again, you know, we really want to make sure that players feel invested in these characters, feel invested in their stories, and we also want to show that these characters do grow over the course of the Veilguard. These aren't characters who remain completely static from moment one to the end game. These are characters who grow, and you help them grow. They're still their problem. They're still not going to, like, they're not sitting there saying, well, Rook, you need to do everything for me, but you're intended to be the leader of this group, but also you can be their friend and help them with things that their challenges. So yeah, I mean, it's a mix of both. We really just, it comes down to the individual character, and there is a lot of nuance in that answer.
Just can we romance Solas, but only in Dreadwolf form, asking for Inquisitive Inquisitor, asking the real questions here. Every monster fucker from here to there is very appreciative of this question. I demand answers.
I think too.
I need
This
that
next
answer.
question from Xeno Gabby is a minor spoiler.
We're
so
back.
you've been warned once again.
We're back in minor spoiler territory, guys. Mute your stream. I'll wave you back in. Here we go.
The question is Lucanus possessed?
So again,
I wonder if they're going to answer this.
spoilers. Everyone has been warned, fairly warned. So Lucanus Della Morte is also known as the Demon of Varantium, and he has spent a lot of time killing Venatori, who are mages and who do know a lot about demons. So yeah, somebody decided that it might be a good idea to make that nickname stick.
And this next one from a user.
Okay, they didn't say everything. Cool. Put a pin in that until my embargo lifts. We are now out of spoiler territory. I can fix it. Do you know? Yes. Yes, I do.
User named Crom. Is there reactivity towards the specialization that you chose? Like, some people might trust more champions, or maybe others will freak out with Death Callers or Reapers.
Yeah, what a good question. So in general, the reactivity is reserved for things that aren't necessarily likely to change, things that can create a through line that we can keep building and building upon. So like your faction, your lineage, your class, your choices.
Oh, hold on, just put a pin in that. McPicklebreath, I love your username. Can you give us some insight into the changes that you've experienced while reading the transcript, if possible? If it's annoying, then please don't force yourself to do it. But I would love to know what they've changed from the actual interview into the transcript, if possible. But again, no pressure if it's a pain in the ass to do. Just the gist. You don't have to like tell us everything, but just I would be very interested to know what they changed.
That keeps a consistent narrative thread with those elements, and then we can assume that thread continues from beat to beat. So the answer is no, they don't react to your specialization, but in part that's because you can full refund, you can respec at any time. You might be a death caller one moment and another specialization on the next encounter.
Ah, cool. I like that you can respec. That's always good.
And this next question, you mentioned encountering companions on their own missions in the world. If I keep my party mostly the same, does that mean that I miss out on their side missions, or are they unavailable to be picked up during that time?
Oh, good question.
Oh yeah. I mean, you have all the tools that you're not going to miss out on quests based on who's in your party.
Have a good one, Dem.
How would I answer this? So there are certain plot elements that can change what quests are available to you.
Mm-hmm.
And in some cases, some quests that you might have in your journal can actually expire based on choices and how you advance the plot. So there are ways that quest content gets
a lot of the transcript is simplified and reworded, and some of the implications are a little less direct. Thank you. That's good to know.
cut off or alters. But in general, you have the visibility and the tools so that you won't miss out on it.
Good.
I can give you a couple of examples.
Thank you,
that
Carl.
might be helpful. So when you meet companions out in the world, there's kind of like a couple of different ways that they can show up.
Mm-hmm.
In a recent playthrough, I was exploring Hossberg Wetlands. It was technically for a quest that should have been more oriented toward Davrin, but I didn't have him in my party.
Mm.
And as I got close to the objective, he showed up with a song and helped me clear the path forward. The other way this will happen, I was out in Arlethan, actually on my way to do a main story mission. And I get to the far reaches of Arlethan Forest, and I already knew that Tosh wanted to help me with some of the challenges of that arc.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Tosh is right there waiting for me. So I actually chose to instead, Tosh seems impatient. I'm going to actually jump on that story arc right now instead of what I intended to do.
Okay.
So just some examples of the way that as you're journeying through this world, opportunities are going to show up, but they allow you just to express more agency. You're generally not going to miss them.
Okay, good. I don't like missable quests that can fail as well. It puts it's like underwater levels. It puts too much pressure on me. I panic and I pass the fuck out. But that sounds interesting. So, like, you'll just randomly find Tash in the Arlethan Forest, ready for a quest and stuff. I kind of like the idea of that, but again, it's going to be something that we have to have the game and see how it plays before we know if it's going to be annoying or not. But hey.
This next one is a minor spoiler.
We're back in minor spoiler territory whilst I check my posture. We're back in minor spoiler territory. I will wave you back in. Mute the stream now.
And warned. This next question is from Tazaba. What's the difference between the Veil Jumper faction and the Veil Ranger specialization?
Is this a spoiler?
Yeah, okay, so yeah, we just wanted to kind of flag this as a spoiler just because there might be assumptions about how you take on specializations in this game.
Okay.
So John touched on this a little bit already, but specializations really represent the training and fighting styles used by a given faction.
Okay.
As John mentioned, you do not have to be a Veil Jumper to choose a specialization that's associated with the Veil Jumpers. You've just been around them, you're aware of their techniques, and you want to take that on yourself.
Oh, okay.
So in this particular case, and I get the confusion because Veil Jumper and Veil Ranger sound very similar. If I'm playing as a rogue, using the Veil Ranger specialization, all that means is I'm fighting in the style of the Veil Jumpers. Like they do with bow and arrow, typically electric damage, that sort of thing. So just to be super clear, it's not required that you have to be a Veil Jumper in order to play a Veil Ranger.
I get it.
This next question is, where is the equator in Thetis, or the planet Thetis is on, relative to places we've explored?
Oh, I need to wave people back in. The spoilers are over. Was that clear? Did everybody get that? Okay, do you want me to explain that a little bit before I wave people back in? Or chill? If you want, I can go over it a little bit. So, imagine, like, you know how on the skill tree, each subclass has like a little icon next to it? So, like, obviously, Necromancer has the Mournwatch symbol next to it. And we were speculating, like, do you have to go to the Mournwatch or do you have to go to Emmerich, who is a member of the Mournwatch, to learn to be a Necromancer? I can't remember what the Necromancer is actually called in Veilguard. Someone remind me. But it turns out, no, it just means that is the style of magic that you're learning. You're learning the same style as the mages from the Mournwatch. So you don't have to be a member of the Mournwatch or go to a member of the Mournwatch to learn it. It's like Deathcaller, thank you. That is correct. You don't have to be a member of the Mournwatch or go to a member of the Mournwatch to learn to be a Deathcaller. It just means that when you become a Deathcaller, you're using the same fighting style as the people from the Mournwatch, which is fine. That makes more sense to me.
Well, that is a great question. So I will say that, it's funny, until I saw this question, it's not something I'd ever thought a lot about.
Equator in Thetis, or the planet Thetis is on, relative to places we've explored.
I need this.
Well, that is a great question. So I will say that, it's funny, until I saw this question, it's not something I'd ever thought a lot about. But as I started thinking about it a little bit more deeply, based on how the climate changes across Thetis, obviously to the south are the Avar, things get a little bit more wintry. And then up north is a lot more tropical. I'd say that Thetis is a southern continent on this world, so...
Are there any
Thetis is Australia, confirmed.
main story missions that require you to use a specific companion? Kind of similar to a previous question.
Yeah. So there are a few, yes. Again, in the warrior deep dive, I'm not gonna describe it just in case anyone didn't want to have spoilers. You can see that a companion.
Australia or South America or any other southern hemisphere continents. Kangaroos in Thetis confirmed?
Was required for that. However, that's the exception rather than the rule. In general, we try and give players the agency to bring who they want for these moments. There are these times where
Does that mean their summers are cold and their winters are hot? What?
companion, either their faction or their story arc is so closely tied or intersects with the events of a main story mission that they do become required. But it's not the standard. And then, of course, in general, if you're doing your companions' arcs, those are the moments where they're more than likely going to be required.
This changes everything. As a Northern Hemispherer, that blows my mind. I'm sure it's all normal and checks out for Southern Hemispherers. But for me, a scabby Northern Hemispherer, cold summers? What? Although I live in the UK, so it's pretty much of a muchness to me. Every day of the year it's cold and rainy. I remember reading that Navarra in winter, people go ice skating on the frozen river. Well, they're going to have to retcon that now. They're going to have to retcon that now, because if it's a southern hemisphere continent, then they're going ice skating in summer. So fuck.
It's pretty flexible. Like if you're worried about like every mission I go through, like am I going to have someone that is going to be mandated? Generally not.
Sorry, I almost talked over you there, Corinne. My bad. This next question is, will we be able to pause cutscenes? Will there be any kind of dialogue history to look back on if we miss what was said?
I believe the answer is
So
yes.
you can pause every cutscene in the game. Obviously, life happens. Somebody, maybe your cat's, just to use an example that definitely doesn't happen to me regularly. My cat, might be throwing up in the next room, and I need to find a way to get her off of the carpet and onto, not the carpet. So you can pause any cutscene and conversation. There is no dialogue history at the moment, unfortunately, and that's not something we did look into it, but it's just based on how the dialogue is structured and how it's built in this game. That's not something that we are going to have, unfortunately.
No chat history, okay.
I saw somebody say cat vomiting is so real, and I agree. Sometimes when I'm playing games, my dog decides to do something. Get into relationships with each other. So this next question is, since companions can get into relationships with each other, is there a mechanic behind which companions get together? Can a companion leave due to your world decisions? And if so, will their partners leave with them?
Did I
I'm
wave
gonna
people
answer
back
half
in? I
this
can't
question.
remember.
The other half is a spoiler that we're not going to get into right now. Companions, there is not actually a mechanic behind the companions getting together. We never wanted it to feel like a mechanical thing, and obviously, different companions are going to have different attractions. One of the fun things is, as you're going through, especially if you're not flirting with one of the companions, you can see these relationships starting to develop.
Like Dorian and
the thing
Bull.
that actually allows them to, completely develop is generally committing to another relationship, or not engaging in a romance with those companions at all. So
Thank you,
yeah,
Nally Wally.
there's not a mechanic. It's just what we felt made the most sense, and I think that's honestly one of my favorite things with the companions is they're all written to feel like real people with real preferences and real attractions. So beyond just romances, they also develop friendships and even rivalries with each other because of them feeling like these characters that exist outside of just the game. So
Oh, I love that.
Awesome. This next question is all about Davrin. Hildrana would love to know more about Davrin. What's his personality like? What kind of hobbies or things does he like? And what his relationship with Asan is like?
So Davrin is one of, I say one of my favorite characters. Honestly, I love all the 7 companions, so it's challenging for me to say which. But Davrin is stern, thoughtful and considerate, though. He has a soft side for sure. You see that develop over time as he starts to warm up to the other companions. He has, a kindness to him that is brought out in particular by certain companions, and also a strong sense of pride and when he develops rivalry with some of the companions. So there's that sense of he knows who he wants to be, he knows who he is, and a lot of his arc is making that journey. In terms of how he relates to Asan, his relationship evolves over time. I'm not going to get too deep into spoilers because there are spoilers in that for his quest. The other interesting thing about Davrin, and this shows up, we've talked about this before, he's a monster hunter. He's not just
Thank you, Flame.
a warden who sees fighting monsters as
See you on
just part of the
YouTube.
job. He believes in turning this into a skill set that he alone, he has more than anyone else, learning how to defeat monsters, learning their weaknesses, and that does show up a lot in his character arc. So
Okay.
This next question actually came through our Ask box on Tumblr, so shout.
I'm looking forward to meeting Davrin. He seems very much like a hard exterior, soft interior type character. And I'm very excited to get to know him.
Out the BioWare Tumblr. Rose Red is asking, why do elves seem to not like wearing shoes? Is there a lore reason behind it? Are they not afraid of getting frostbite or stepping in something gross?
It's their culture.
So the shoeless elves thing is in part
Hi, Anne. See you on YouTube.
Dalish are very close to nature. They go around shoeless in large part to become closer to nature. It's part of their culture. It's part of who they are. But, especially, and it's not true of every Dalish clan. The Dalish are a tremendously widely spread and widely varied people. So, for example, Balara does not go around shoeless. She wears boots. She's climbing around on ancient ruins, walking through maybe a shattered or a place where Alluvian's shattered. It's a great way to get your feet sliced up on the hard rocks and on the hard glass. And in general, Veil jumpers are a little bit more
We don't know yet.
Where they go and what they do really requires a lot more care and a lot more protection. So, I mean, you'll notice in Blar's visual design, but also in the visual design of the other Veil Jumpers, they're very practically minded. They know that what they're doing is dangerous, and and again, not every Dalish clan goes around shoeless. So
They're the hobbits of Thedas. It's grounding. It connects them to the soil and to nature, to be barefoot, or to at least have their soles or their toes bare, because a lot of them wear foot wraps. But yeah, I love it. I think it's a cute little addition to the Dalish Elves. I really like it as a cultural thing.
ZJ wants to know, do all companions have aesthetic changes when in the lighthouse and outside of the lighthouse?
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah, they absolutely do.
Excellent.
So just like Rook, each of the companions has what we refer to as their casual wear. This is how they look in their downtime, their more relaxed moments. It's definitely different from how they look headed into battle. And I'll tell you this. If Emmerich's casual wear doesn't send you, I just don't know what to tell you.
It's like an Inquisition. Everybody had PJs or like an outfit that they wore around Skyhold. It's the same in Veilguard. Everybody's going to have PJs or something that they wear around the lighthouse. So fantastic.
I've got a fun one coming up. Do the companions have favorite foods? And if so, what are they?
Ooh.
Oh, I love this one. So they do. Each of them does have favorite foods. It's funny. I'd say that Dragon Age the Veilguard is probably the most we've talked about food in the.
Just to touch on that again, you guys have seen their lighthouse outfits. It was in that promo photo that BioWare released where they're all around the table. And Emmerich is just in like his shirt and a waistcoat. That's their lighthouse outfits, as far as I'm aware. So you've seen them already. You know what they look like. If you have seen that image, then you have. If you haven't seen that image, then don't worry about it. I'm sure it will come back around again. Or if you don't want to know what they look like, then don't look at that image. But that's their lighthouse pajamas essentially. So what foods do they like?
Context of Dragon Age ever. But yeah, I mean, some of them are a little bit more, they have simpler tastes, and a large part that's because that's what they're used to or what they can cook. We talked. I'm going to actually give a little bit of a. I don't know if I consider this a spoiler, but maybe if you're really sensitive to spoilers, you don't want to listen to this last part. We've talked about.
If you're really sensitive to spoilers, then don't listen to this last part. I will wave you back in if you're really sensitive to spoilers and you don't want to hear this bit. John Epler has said. Okay, bear with me. Here we go with a mild spoiler.
About how there's people on the team who are better cooks and people on the team who maybe don't have necessarily the skill set who could burn water. So one of the things I really love is, Balara and Lucanus actually end up being essentially the team cooks.
I love that.
Balara, spending a lot of time out in nature, learning a lot about, different types of
Lucanus
cooking.
can cook.
Is a really big on experimentation. She likes to, try different things. Lucanus comes from the Crows. Lucanus is very big on the finer things. So between the two of them, there's a point in the story where they basically decide, if we don't do this, the entire team is going to starve. So let's just call ourselves the cooks and make sure that nobody dies of food poisoning.
I love that.
This next one.
I love that very much. That makes me so happy. All right, spoilers over. Here we go, back into more questions.
I believe we actually might have even touched on this in the first Q&A, but Trev has noticed a lack of dwarves in our promotional material concerning Rook. Inquisition had them sharing facial hair options with humans. So their question is, will dwarves return to more braided, grander beards, or will the facial hair options be shared like previously?
Oh.
Yeah, we did touch on this briefly, so let me go a little bit deeper. Yeah, there are some grander dwarven beards, like braids, beads woven in.
Hell yeah.
It's really lovely and really thematic. And y'all have seen our strand hair, how great that looks. I think it looks just as great for the beards. And I do know we're going to, at some point leading up to launch, we are going to be showing some some dwarf rooks. So let's see if we can't get some beard options on display there.
Hell yeah.
It actually really was quite the challenge to get the physics to work with all the armor variants we have on those beards. So I'll tell you what, y'all, the team loves hearing from you. Would it be okay if I just asked in chat, could we get some love for our character art and tech anim teams? Because they put their heart and soul into making sure this would work for y'all.
Yes, we can.
It is incredible how good the beers look.
I'm excited to see.
It's the work that they've done is just spectacular.
Oh, y'all are too kind. And then I guess just to finish up this question, we try and let you use as many options as the character creator has for any character you want to create. So we definitely created beards in mind that are more dwarven in nature. You can use that on a Kunari if you want, or you can use a more traditional human beard on a dwarf if you want, but your options are there.
Oh, excellent.
Oh, y'all are lovely. Thank you so much.
The art book's going to be great.
So we didn't tag this next one as a minor spoiler, and I don't think that it is, but definitely want to flag it anyway.
Oh, be careful.
Will the soul of
Spoilers! Be careful, be careful, be careful. I will wave you back in if you mute the stream.
Anyway, will the soul of Elens have a chance at a happy ending?
Kren, I'm going to let you do this one.
Oh my goodness, this is the question.
This is the question.
Look, I mean, I thought y'all wanted the pain. Didn't you tell me you wanted the pain? That tortured romance that rips your heart out? Honestly, though, I just wouldn't feel right about spoiling anything here. I'll just say this. I'll just say this. Trick has done a fantastic job with Solas. They always do. This is some of their best work, I think. And then I'll also say, as for myself, as the resident Solavellan shipper on the leadership team, I'm repping y'all. But that's all I'm gonna say.
It does not bode well. It does not bode well. We do want the tortured romance, but we want the happy conclusion at the end. Oh no. I have so many theories about what's going to happen to Solas. Like, I have so many theories, and none of them are fantastic. But I'm so scared. The stress is coming on strong. But just know, guys, I will be there to hold all of your hands. I've felt this way about Solas for many years now, but see, now that it's getting closer and I'm faced with it, I'm just going to jump back into denial, and he's going to be fine, and we're going to have the best ending. We're going to have the happiest ending in the world ever. Thank you very much. Oh no. Yes, exactly. All of the fanfic writers, we need you right now. Please come and fix everything for us. Clown music intensifies. But I will talk more about that at a later date. Let's just get through the Q&A right now. Delululand is where I will be happy. Exactly. Let me wave the muters back in. Spoilers are over now, I think. Come on back in, muters. Let's continue with the disco.
That's definitely what I meant by it. Not really a spoiler, but some people might have thought that in the beginning.
Oh no.
Okay, next question is, since you can choose to be part of the same faction for most of the companions, will that give you an advantage when trying to befriend them?
So you will get some unique dialogue with the companions that are part of your own faction. The first time you meet them, they may not all know you by face, but they've at least heard of you, heard of who you are, maybe even heard of you leaving the faction to go help Varric track down Solas.
Oh.
But that said, you know the faction. You don't necessarily know them as people.
Yeah.
So they will know you, but you still have to work to earn their trust and learn, get them, help them with their problems.
That's fair. Supplements.
And next question is, will there be more connections between the Veilguard? Like, will we see them hanging out together without us?
Oh, I love this one. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think I've said this twice already, but my favorite thing is how much the companions feel like and end up feeling like a found family. They're invested in each other's problems. You know, they're invested in each other's successes and failures, and this manifests through a bunch of different ways: scenes, banter, even interactions in the lighthouse itself. Because one of the things that I think is important, I know Corinne also thinks is super important, these worlds, these games feel the best when they don't feel like they're there as a theme park just for you, just to
Yeah.
exist for Rook as a protagonist. These are characters that have relationships, have, you know, things going on that don't necessarily directly involve Rook all the time. They have their own relationships, their own feelings, and we really want them to feel like their own people and feel like they
Same.
do exist outside of just the sphere of Rook. So, you know, they'll follow you. You're the one leading this fight, but the companions don't just exist for you.
I love that. Found family is my major weakness as well. Something that I love very much is watching characters that I love develop and make friends. I love the idea of Lucanus making friends with everybody. I'm just like, go into the world, wee man. Make friends. Like when your kid goes off to school and he comes back with like friends, you know what I mean? Like it warms the heart. I'm not saying Lucanus is like my kid. I will romance the fuck out of him. How dare you? But my point is that it's one of my favorite things. Like when we were playing Inquisition, and Dorian and Solas, my two favorite characters, start off button heads when they first meet each other, but then through dialogue, eventually they start to like kind of see eye to eye a little bit. Like Dorian goes back and tries to like stop slavery in Tevinter, and a lot of it is from seeing how things are in the south and Solas literally yelling at him that slavery is wrong and that the elves aren't what you think they are. and I love that. And watching Dorian and Iron Bull get together and fall moderately in love. And then Iron Bull and Solas, like the relationship that they develop all the way up until their chess game, where my literal name comes from, Faidewalker, comes from that chess game between Iron Bull and Solas, where Iron Bull says to Solas, "Oh, you spend too much time playing with spirits, Faidewalker." It's wonderful to see the interactions between the companions. I love party banter. I love party dynamic. I love all of the interactions between the NPCs with themselves. I love it. Literally named my whole channel after an NPC interaction. Oh, they're not NPCs, after like a companion interaction. So I love it. I can't wait to experience it in Veilguard. One of my favorite things.
So this next one is a real minor spoiler warning.
Oh shit. Real minor spoiler warning this time, guys. Real minor spoiler. The word real has been dropped. So be careful. I will wave you back in when it's over. Here we go. Good luck, everyone.
Will the companions have interactions with Solas? I imagine the companions will comment on Rook's decisions regarding Solas, but was wondering if the potential relationship between Solas and the companions will play any part.
Oh, this is a good question. So a lot of Solas's relationship is with Rook. Rook and Solas have a connection. They have a bond, and part of that is, and I've said this before, but Solas sees a lot of himself in Rook. He sees, the person he was before, the person he thinks he is in Rook, and becomes, again, they develop a connection. You get to flavor how it is. You can make it more antagonistic, make it friendlier, but ultimately, it is a connection between the two of you. Now, that said, the companions are much a part of Rook's story as Solas is. And sometimes those relationships can cross over, as well as there are followers who, are going to have a more complicated connection, a complicated relationship with just Solas as an entity. Balara, for example, is an elf. She's Dalish, and this is a person from her pantheon. So there's going to be a lot more of a, I guess, like I said, complex relationship between the two of them. Davern is another example. Someone else who is Dalish, so their views on the gods in general are going to be a little bit different. And then on the other side, you have someone like Emmerich, who's very big on magic and the Fade. So they'll have their own questions, their own thoughts.
Cool. Love that. Can't wait to
Before
hear
I
it.
get to this next question, I do want to say that we've got about a 15-minute warning. We've got about 15 minutes left, so we'll get through as many questions
I'll wave
as we
the
can
muters
that
back
time.
in. Safe.
And with that said, our next one is, I feel like we might have actually touched on this earlier, but keep me honest. Would it be possible to hide some of the combat UI, such as companion trackers and enemy HP bars, for even more immersion?
Oh.
Yeah, good question. It's actually it's reasonably robust what you can do with your UI. So let me give you some examples. If normally when you hit an enemy, you'll see damage floaties come off of it. You want to turn those off, you can.
Right, Fade?
If you want to play without, say, the mini-map or the wayfinding markers, have a more organic experience, you can.
Awesome.
I challenged myself to do it was really difficult, but to do a really difficult run where I turned off my own health bar, you can do that too.
Oh my god.
And then I know one of them that a lot of people have been asking about is we do have the incoming attack indicators that just help you react. But if you're the kind of player that wants to turn those off, cut down on the noise, yeah, you can do that too. So, I can't say that we support every single option you might have in mind, but it's reasonably robust.
Once I get used to the game, and I've played it a couple of times, I will challenge myself to do a full playthrough with my health bar hidden. Bet. I'll do it as like a challenge run. No health bar challenge run in Veilguard. Let's go. I am so down for that. That sounds like great fun. Watch this space.
And then another just small minor spoiler.
Small minor spoiler, guys. I will wave you back in once it's over. Mute the stream now. Ready? Here we go.
You've been warned yet again. Is there lockpicking in the game?
Is this a spoiler?
Oh gosh, lockpicking. Notorious lockpicking. Well, let me answer it this way.
Hard mode, I just hide my entire HUD. I just hide my entire UI and just play the game.
think the approach we took in the Veilguard is that each companion has a unique, what we're calling exploration ability or abilities that you can use to solve puzzles, access new areas, and find treasure. So, like in that regard, it's not actually dissimilar to lockpicking. It's just that it is more thematic to the companions and their unique skill sets within the Veilguard.
Oh, okay.
It's very specialized, I guess you could say. And look, I've been there when you're playing and you feel like you have to take a rogue.
This is one of the answers they changed. What does the transcript say for this answer, out of curiosity?
Otherwise, you're not going to be open the lock.
They just added info? Got it.
Some players like that, some players dislike it. But the option that we wanted to give to y'all is that, we did say this is a spoiler, right? We did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Rook does find a certain dagger, and through it, a method to channel these exploration abilities of their companions, even when the companion's not in your party.
The blue one?
So, like, look, if I'm exploring Hossberg and there's a puzzle and I know how to solve it, like, I'm not running all the way back to, like, a party swap point.
Thank fuck.
You can just use the dagger.
Thank fuck.
This next one is not.
Amazing. Amazing. So if you bring a rogue to unlock a door, or if you don't bring a rogue to unlock a door, you can just use the dagger to channel the rogue's ability rather than go all the way back to the lighthouse and get a rogue. Fucking perfect. Yes, thank you. Thank you, the BioWare gods that be. I really want a giant skelly boy as well. Right, hold on. Let me wave the muters back in. You are safe to come back into the chat, muters. I hope this is a good system for spoilers for you. I hope this is working. All right, we're almost done, guys. We're on like maybe the last 15 minutes of the Discord Q&A. I know that this is a long one, and I really appreciate the sit-in. But let's just get to the end and see what else they say.
Not a spoiler, and it is actually something we confirmed a little bit earlier on in the Q&A, but it doesn't hurt to be clear. Can we freely reallocate or refund skill points?
Yeah, we've confirmed this. I'm just going to keep it brief. Yes, absolutely. Refund all, refund last, no
Excellent.
cost. It's an entirely friendly refund system.
Free
Go
respec.
experiment and then let me know what you do.
Perfect. Love it.
Will the game be broken down into acts or stages at all? Mainly wondering for like spoiler discussion purposes while they're all playing and wanting to talk to one another about it.
So while we don't officially within the game say this is this act, this is the next act, there are some pretty obvious narrative breakpoints where the context changes, or there's events that make it clear that things are now advancing into a different stage. That's, now to be clear, that's largely around the critical path. Other content can largely be done at any time, but even there we do unlock certain things over the course of time, because again it maybe doesn't make narrative sense in the context of say an earlier act, but now you're into act 2, it feels a lot more meaningful and makes more sense in the world. So you can do a lot of content in any order, but the critical path is largely broken into acts.
I love that. It helps my brain.
No, I think this next question might be the most important question we can answer.
Oh.
A user by the name of Doggy Snores says, "Would you please tell me happy birthday?"
Oh.
Happy birthday, Doggy Snores.
Oh, happy birthday, Doggy Snore. I feel weird saying Doggy Snores. I mean, listen.
Gotta roll with it, Corinne.
John, Katie, do we want to sing? Do we want
Yes.
to
Oh, we could. Oh, okay.
Yes.
You can
All
sing.
right. Happy birthday to
you.
That's cute.
Yeah, we do have a time limit now. All right, next question. All right, this is from Guava. Okay, I want to know the helmet situation. Back in Inquisition, there were helmets exclusive to races, and to be honest, most helmets were exclusive to humans. Will elves and humans share helmets since their head shape seems to be more similar now? And will there be Kinari helmets rather than just face paints?
Love this described as the helmet situation. Love it. Yeah, so let me describe this to you.
Face paint.
All the helmets can be worn by all the lineages, with one big exception. The Kinari still use the Vitar face paint. So each helmet has a unique look, and if you're using the Vitar variant of that instead, that too has a unique look. So you'll wear the face paint instead of the helmet. And we felt that this was just generally a good precedent following Inquisition. And really what led us to this decision is that when you see horn customization and hair customization with the horns in Character Creator, like, we didn't want to sacrifice that aspect of it. It's just effing cool. That's all I can say about it. So yeah, the Kinari will use Vitar. All the other helmets can be worn by all lineages. We've talked a lot about transmog, so of course you can transmog them, you can hide your
Awesome.
helmet, you can hide your helmet in certain situations.
But can we hide the helmet of individual characters individually? This is the question that I need answered right now.
So I'd say as a situation, we're pretty happy with it.
This next
It would make sense that the Kunari are the only ones that can use the Vitar because it's a cultural thing to them. It's like the same thing as saying that only the Dalish can have Valisleen because it's their cultural thing. So it's more like war paint. I don't like saying face paint. It makes it sound juvenile and like a circus. It's like war paint. It's very tied into the Kunari culture. So it makes sense that only the Kunari can wear it. Which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. I'm very excited to see the horn customization. I'm not going to lie. I'm very excited to see it. I want to see that as much as I want to see the beard customization for dwarves. Let me in! Let me in!
next question is, will we be able to tint and change the color of our armors, or do they have their default colors only?
The big questions now.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that kind of gets back to transmog in a way. Gosh, what's the best way to answer this, I think, is that each armor piece, like gear piece you have, will have bespoke colors. But for almost every single armor piece, while you can't dye them, we have created color variant cosmetics. and they're very often aligned with the various factions in the world, right?
Okay, so
like,
no
there's
tinting.
one, for instance, that has this like incredible like flowing cape. I use it all the time. There's a variant of it for each faction with different colors and logos and things of that nature.
Oh, okay.
So you can't die, but it really is flexible and very thematic.
Can't die.
And then I guess going back to the Venatori armor question we had way at the beginning, while I wouldn't say they're explicitly Venatori, there are some very Venatori-like color schemes in some of the armors you'll find.
Okay, cool. That's fair.
I think this might be our last minor spoiler question.
Last minor spoiler question, guys, and then we're on the home stretch. So mute the mic and I will wave you back in. Here we go.
So once again, you've been warned. Ayla Fireheart asks, will we be seeing other griffins from the last flight?
Oh.
So again, just to be clear, spoilers, but yeah, Asan has brothers and sisters, so Asan is not the only griffin that shows up in Dragon Age the Veilguard.
Yay!
Hey, I just got to respond to something in comment. That somebody says, wait, does that mean I can't be pink? And I'm assuming we're talking about armors. There's some pink armors.
There's some pink armors.
Don't worry.
Confirmed.
There's some pink.
Let me just wave the muters back
As
in.
some of the companions come from media outside of the games, were they already chosen as companions for the game and then integrated into the additional media? Or were they characters outside of the game and the team wanted to bring them in?
Oh.
I think this is pretty similar to a question we answered earlier. So, I mean, again, it depends, but if they showed up, especially into Winter Nights, they were already intended to be companions at that point. So.
Are there any lineage-based surnames, or is it just based on the background?
Ah.
So surnames in this game are entirely based on your background choice. The reason for this is we do reference your surname in dialogue, a not inconsiderable amount, and we didn't. At a certain point, it becomes unsustainable in terms of how many different variations. So we reference it based on your surnames, or sorry, your background.
Interested to see what the surnames are going to be. We've
Is
seen a
there
couple.
any chance that we'll be
We've seen a couple of the surnames already. They pop up whenever they show the skill trees for the different classes. So some of them are like Thorn. Thorn is one of them. So it'll be really interesting to see all of the different variants for the surnames. I wish that we could give our own surnames, but I understand that they have to like put the surname into the game so that people can talk to you without just calling you Rook. Like how they say Lavelle and Kadash and stuff like that. So in Inquisition. So I understand. Hopefully we get good ones. It'll be fun to see what they're like.
getting any audio snippets of some of the companions and Rook's voice lines before release?
Well, that's the great news about the Vows and Vengeance is that each companion will show up in one of the episodes, and you will be able to hear their voice in there. So
I am so excited for you guys to hear Lucanus, Emmerich, and Davrin's episodes for Vows and Vengeance. Please come to my streams and watch them with me so that you can hold my hand and I can scream at how wonderful they are. That's all. Thank you. Good night.
first episode yesterday, and there's more to come.
Especially Lucanus's. You need to hold my hand through Lucanus's. You don't understand. You don't understand.
Remember when I said that was the last, we had already read the last minor spoiler? I was wrong. There's one more.
Oh, one more minor spoiler, guys. We've been lied to. All right, I'll wave you guys back in. Mute the stream, and I'll wave you back in for the last minor spoiler. Hopefully, maybe. We have one more. Here we go.
So once again, you've been warned. Minor spoiler upcoming. This question is from Sammy Cherry Lee. Considering Varric's time skip looks are a direct translation of how he looked in the comics, what thought process went into Morrigan's new design? And what do you usually consider when bringing in old beloved characters back, but also make sure to adapt them to the years that have passed within the game?
Good question.
So in every case, anytime we're bringing back a character, we want to think about what's changed for that character in the time since you last saw them. So Varric, Morrigan, any other characters we bring back, there is this thought of, okay, it's been, in this case, almost 10 years. What's changed for these characters in that intervening time? In the case of Morrigan, she's coming to terms with a lot of truths about both herself, but also her mother. You know, you see her with Flemeth's crown or a variation of it, and that's speaking to her personal journey of what I would call kind of acceptance of who she is and how she connects to Flemeth. Because ultimately, we want this to feel like a real world. It's this; they're not the same person they are 10 years ago. None of us are, and we don't want characters to feel like 10 years have passed, and hey, I'm exactly the same, because that's stagnation for the character, and it's just not believable or honestly fun for you, and it doesn't do justice to those characters.
It's also very difficult to be yourself when you're when your body is the habitat of an old ancient god. I'm still convinced that she's Mythal. I'm still convinced. I'm about 80% sure that she is now carrying Mythal around with her. Mythal just climbed up inside her and was like, you know what? I'm changing your look. And Morgan's just like, oh, fucked if I can do anything about it. Mythal's like, where's my crown? Where'd it go? But we'll have to wait and see.
Can we clarify?
I don't know if I waved people back in. I think it's okay.
Oh, fuck. I think my Discord just went down again.
No, I can still hear you.
We can hear you, Katie. So.
Oh, good. I'll just keep
Wave
talking.
you back in.
Great,
Also,
let's
sorry
do
for
it.
the F-bomb. I didn't know you could still hear me.
Hey, we've all been there.
Cursing in our Discord? My goodness.
How
My
very
goodness,
human
how
of you.
dare you. Ban me.
It bodes well for me that swearing doesn't bother them. I know that some of the devs watch my content on YouTube, so it bodes very well for me that swearing doesn't bother them. I'm too Scottish, I can't help it.
This next question is, can you clarify if Spellblade will be forced to use a dagger, or can we still use staff as a melee combat weapon?
Oh, heck yeah, let's go. I was wondering if this was going to be clear in the combat video we put out. So I'll speak about mage, but this is generally true of all the classes. So they each have 2 weapon sets. If you've seen the character sheet, so for mage, you're going to have your staff slot, and then you're going to have the orb and dagger slot. So at any point, like even between weapon swings, you can swap to your class alternate weapon set by hitting down on the D-pad. So you're not locked down into one weapon set or the other, even if you're in a given class or specialization. Now, like what I would say is that the Spellblade specialization has a lot of extra functionality and depth that is augmented when using the Orb and Dagger. But if I give you an anecdote of how I play, the staff heavy attack armor, I take this, or the staff heavy attack charge, I take a trait where when I'm doing damage and playing, it's building up that heavy attack charge on my staff, even when I'm playing as my Spellblade. So I'll be just going to town with Orb and Dagger. I'll notice that my staff is fully charged. I'll swap at a convenient moment, use my heavy staff attack, blast the enemies down. And the really cool thing about it, I was telling y'all that these Nightmare players, planning around your elemental damage types, it's really great to have weapons of multiple elemental types, right? So I go up against something that's resistant to fire, I'm gonna hit down and maybe swap to my necrotic weapon.
Love that. I love that they're bringing back weapon sets like they did in Origins. So you remember how in Origins you could set a melee weapon and a ranged weapon? It's kind of the same deal in Veilguard. But like in Origins, I'm pretty sure in Origins you could switch between them mid-fight. So you could switch between your sword to a bow. It's similar in Veilguard, it sounds. And I love that they've brought that back. I cannot wait to see how that feels. Or I cannot wait to tell you guys how that feels. Is it the 19th yet? Oh my god!
I'm back in
Welcome
record
back.
time. Okay. Did we get to the next one, or was that just the Spellblade question?
Oh, sorry, I was geeking out too much.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's
Katie.
great.
We hit upon a favorite topic of mine.
That's okay. Do we think we have time for one more, or do we think it's time to wrap up?
I can go a little late. I think we could do a couple more for sure.
Okay. We do only have 3 left.
Let's
so
finish the list.
let's do it. All right, next question. Since it was mentioned that playing as an elf in the Veil Jumpers will see you as more of a Dalish elf, and a city elf if you play as a shadow dragon, what kind of elf would you be in the other faction?
That makes me so happy that you're seen more as a city elf, because I want to play a city elf and I was worried that we were just going to have Dalish elves exclusive like we did in Inquisition. Fuck yeah, let's go.
So this is actually a really interesting question for me, because I think one of the things I'd say is, well, city elf versus Dalish elf is a lot more of a useful distinction in, Ferelden, Orlais. So we're in Northern Thedas. Things are different up here. And a great example is Ravane. Dalish settlements, they have Dalish settlements within cities integrated into the cities because, again, they don't have that same bias, the same distinction. So it's not really a city elf versus Dalish elf thing in a lot of those cases. It's a lot more about how you play into the faction, and in some cases it matters more that you're an elf. In other cases, it doesn't actually matter to the people of that faction. They're just looking for someone who could do the work. A great example, and I'll just very light spoilers. Watch is a great example where they just care that you are capable of, executing the duties that you're given. So
excellent, love that. Fun fact, and let me just geek out about Antiva because I fucking love Antiva. The Dalish exist in Antiva, but the Dalish clans in Antiva are renowned for being hyper aggressive, hyper vicious, and just like will murder you on sight. A lot more. Like they're the Ferelden and Orlesian Dalish ramped up to 11 in aggressiveness. So it'd be really, really fun to play a Dalish elf from Antiva. I'm kind of gutted that we can't, just because you would be feral, and I'm here for that energy.
This next question we've definitely confirmed a few times today already, but I'm sure there's been a couple of people who've cycled in and out. When will we be releasing detailed information on the full list of accessibility features in the game?
So as we mentioned, we're not quite ready to talk about them, but we will be diving in them before launch. We want to make sure as many people as possible can enjoy and play the game. So
excellent.
Yeah,
expect
I think
accessibility.
We're doing a feature, some kind of blog post on that. But yeah, that'll be a good format where we could be a little bit more in depth.
Yeah,
awesome.
All
Look out
right,
for
and
that.
the final question that I have on my list,
here we go,
is about localization. Wooten Smith says, I'd like to hear more about how localization works. What sorts of things have to be changed or adjusted so they make sense in different regions? Do localization teams have to be super careful when they translate to make sure they're not accidentally revealing more than was intended in other versions? I've also always been very curious about accents in other versions. For example, I'm going to butcher this, do the Orlesian, thank you, John, character voice. I tried.
you got most of the way there.
For example, do the Orlesian character
do you even
voice
Dragon
actors
Age, bro?
speak in a French accent in the Japanese version? Or dwarf characters speak with an American accent in the French version?
Fun fact, before they answer this question, I've actually seen my Japanese friend play Dragon Age Origins, and it was all in English, but with Japanese subtitles. So this will be interesting to see if, since Origins, they've actually started dubbing it in the local languages of the country that they're selling it in, or if it's just all in English and then you just put the subtitles down the bottom. Let's see what they say.
So I'm going to talk broadly about localization, and I'll get a little bit into the accent question. So localization is a thing that we're doing constantly. We're always working with the teams. We have regular syncs with them.
I know, Mr. Pickle Breath, I'm just being a dick.
And a lot of that is because localization is not just... A lot of people think of it as like, yeah, you're just translating. Well, you're not. You're again, there's different things to understand about different languages. They have different rules around grammar. And I will say, I think every writer has at least one story where they wrote kind of a fun double entendre into a conversation, and then they got a ping from someone of the localization team saying, hey, can you very thoroughly explain what you meant there? And that's what I like to describe as being hoist on your own petard, because sometimes you're like, oh, I said this, it was really ribald, and now I don't want to talk to this person who is very seriously and very concernedly looking. She's like, can you please tell us what that means? But yeah, I mean, in general, it's an art form of its own. Different sayings translate differently into different languages. different metaphors translate differently to different languages, and we always want to make sure that other people, people who are playing this game in every language have an experience that feels authentic and meaningful and doesn't feel like it's just kind of a, phoned in. We just ran through Google Translate or something. So again, localization is a huge part of what we do. The localization team we have is amazing. They do fantastic work. I love working with them. As far as accents, yeah, we do try to keep some consistency. It's not always going to be a one-to-one, but we...
Just out of curiosity, because I know an awful lot of you are from different countries in my chat. From anyone who's from like a country where English isn't the first language, when you play Dragon Age, is it in your local language? Like if you're German, is it in German? And if it is, what do the accents sound like? Like how do they differentiate between like a Norwegian and a Ferelden, or from an Antivan or a Navarin? Like how does Cassandra sound compared to Zevran? Do you know what I mean? Like how do your languages combat that? I'd love to know whilst we're listening to this explanation.
We do try to say like, okay, so this character, this group of characters needs to sound similar, and they'll find an accent that works with the language that they're trying. Because again, different accents work differently with different languages, and we want to make sure that there's that consistency. So, yeah.
Brilliant.
We
Excellent
did it.
question.
That's all of our questions that we're able to get to today.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Origins was fully dubbed in Poland. Nice. What did they do with the different accents and stuff? I'll put some lo-fi back on in the background. Ignore all of the YouTube ads you were about to hear. I'm from the Netherlands, and I don't believe there's a Dutch dub for the game. I don't even know if we have subs for sure. I always play in full English. That's because people from the Netherlands speak English better than English native speakers. I've never known a nation more like proficient in English than any native English speaking country. You guys are superheroes. It's insane. You guys can speak English by the time you're like 4. It's really embarrassing for people like me in the UK who are lazy and can't even speak English. Hold up, is the game already out? No, it is not. No, we're just talking about it. It won't be out until October 31st. They didn't care at all about adding accents. If I remember correctly, they all sound exactly the same. That's fair. Maybe it doesn't work in Polish, or maybe it just wasn't something that they prioritized. But that's interesting to know. I would love to know. If you're watching on YouTube and you're from a non-English speaking country, let me know how it was translated or dubbed in your language, and what they did with accents and jokes and puns and things. English is my only language and I can barely speak it. Same! I'm Scottish, I barely even speak English. I am German, but I play in English. From what I've seen in videos, there is not many different accents in German, but I haven't played it in German. Oh, fair. Same with my friend in Norway. She watches everything in English, crazy skilled, mad skilled. Do we think there's a chance the game release gets pushed back or no? No. I am fairly confident that the game will not be pushed back unless something vital happens, like unless something catastrophic happens, or unless something... The only way I can see it being pushed back is if something legal happens. If someone dies, I don't know, touch wood, hopefully nobody will die, or something really fucking important happens. I think it's set to come out on Halloween. Touch wood, I hope I haven't just jinxed someone mentioning the big D word. I would love to see a localization for Iceland, but hell will freeze over before that happens. I'm sorry, I would love to see that for you as well. I expect it to go gold very soon if all bodes well. I hope so. But did you guys enjoy that? Did you have fun with the Q&A? I thought that was a fantastic Q&A. And again, a huge shout out to Gil Durthamen for allowing us to review their video. Please go and subscribe to Gil. I will link their channel in the YouTube description box down below. They also have a reading recommendation list. We talked about this earlier. If you want to go and check out any of her videos, she's an absolute sweetheart. I met her in California and she was absolutely lovely. So definitely go and check out her video. She's very, very informative. and an absolute joy. So that was incredibly fun. I'm just going to finish off this YouTube video. Thank you very much, YouTube, if you've been watching. Thank you very much. If you've made it through all the way to the end, you're an absolute legend and a trooper. That was a bit of a long one today, but it was full of really interesting information. I hope my waving hand system worked with spoilers and stuff. And if not, then I'll try and make it more obvious in the future. But thank you very much for being here. Remember, if you like my content, check out my other Dragon Age Veilguard videos. I have a playlist, it's called Let's Talk Dragon Age. Go check it out. Go check out the videos that are now on your screen. Like, comment, subscribe for more. And I will see you in the next Veilguard video. Have a good one, guys. Darius Sharal, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.